Good morning, everybody. Put your locations in the comments as y'all are coming in. Angela Thomas, North Carolina. Good morning. As y'all are coming in, shout yourselves out. Give me your locations in the comments, and we will get started briefly. Make sure we are good everywhere we need to be good. As y'all are coming in, again, shout yourselves out in the comments here so we can get started. This guy is. We got a lot to get to today, as usual. So as y'all are coming in, again, shout yourselves out in the comment section so we can get to the proceedings as quickly as possible. As y'all are coming in, again, shout yourselves out here early. Shout yourselves out as y'all are coming in. There's much that we need to discuss. Shout yourselves out here. So we are live on Rumble. Good morning, Rumble. Live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. Live on, let me check and make sure we are live on X. Yes, we are live on X. Good morning, X. We are live on LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. So my name on LinkedIn and X and Facebook. Excuse me, not Facebook. LinkedIn, X, YouTube, and Rumble is at Dre All Day. LinkedIn, X, YouTube, and Rumble is at Dre All Day. If you are on Facebook, my Facebook page is Facebook/Work on Your Game University. Facebook/Work on Your Game University for those of you who are on Facebook. And those of you on Instagram, my Instagram name is at Dre Baldwin. Good morning, Instagram. And if you're on TikTok, my name on TikTok is at Work on Your Game. So give me your locations in the comments. Shout yourselves out in the comments. And we're going to get started very soon because we got a lot to talk about here today. Today we're talking about TPUSA. That's Turning Point USA. That's Charlie Kirk, the late Charlie Kirk's organization. The organization still exists versus Candace Owens. There is more that has happened now. And this needs to be discussed because it's a bigger topic than just Candace Owens. You may not even listen to Candace Owens or watch Candace Owens' stuff. Maybe you didn't know who Charlie Kirk was. You weren't a big fan of Charlie Kirk. What's happening here, though, is bigger than just Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk. I'm starting to see that there's some things looking questionable about this whole situation. And I'll tell you what part of the situation I'm talking about in a minute. So shout yourselves out in the comment section and let's get to it. Let me shout out a few people who left comments here. Carla, Indiana, good morning. Congrats on the first comment. Quail Ridge, checking in from Lincoln, California. Good morning. Erica B, good morning. Wifey Tips, thank you for the heart. Early and to go popular. Erica B, thanks for the heart. Christy Ebster, good morning. Murphy the Mutt from Bristol, Tennessee. Ashley Mack from Fayetteville, Arkansas. Good morning and thank you. XTR said, nice outfit today. Thank you. Grace Bristol, good morning from North Carolina. Sandwich and Chips, Dallas, Texas. Good morning. Christy Ebster from Nevada. Shout out to Nevada. Tina, good morning. Dre, 757 VA, good morning. Laughing Puppy, checking in from Seattle. Shout out to Seattle. Mary Ann Chavez from Queen Creek, Arizona. Good morning, Arizona. Annie AFF, checking in from Kentucky. Tina, thanks for the repost. Murphy, thank you for the share. Erica B said, cold morning here in Baltimore. Yeah, I heard it's cold in the Northeast right now. Erica B, congrats on the gifter badge. Winters, California, XTR, good morning. Tina, gifter badge, congrats. Bravo Girl from Morning, Kansas City. No, Morning from Kansas City. Good morning, Kansas City. Erica B, thanks for the gifts. 140.6 from Walnut Creek, California. Leah, good morning. Thank you for the Go Popular early on. Number 3, gifter badge. Linda Gale, checking in from St. Louis. Harsh Weed 3, checking in from San Francisco, California. Shout out to San Francisco. Beautiful place. High cost, even higher than South Florida, but beautiful place still. It gets kind of windy there. It gets cold at night. XTR said, Candace is blowing the roof off TPUSA. Well, we'll see. That's what we're going to talk about here today. Maxine Cardin, good morning. Jay Rocker, good morning from Delaware. Rick Thomas, good morning from Bradenton. Shout out to Tampa Bay. Kim, good morning. Carol Ann Collins, checking in from New York. Leah, thank you for the repost. Shim, checking in from Charlotte. Shout out to Carolina. Bougie Bud, good morning from wet, cold New Orleans. Shout out to New Orleans. Tina says 28 degrees in the 757. Shout out to everybody experiencing winter. Dr. Mudd said, good morning, Sir Dre. Good morning. Mile High Pride, good morning. Checking in from Denver. Shout out to Denver. Colorado is a beautiful place. Erica B said, let's run those likes up, get those heart me's in, and don't forget to collect your points. Yes, collect your points, folks. Get your gifter badge, light up the gift gallery, all the things you can do on TikTok. I don't even know what all the things are, but y'all know. So make sure y'all doing that stuff. I appreciate it. Thanks for the likes. Tap the screen. Let's get up to 100,000 likes here today. We should do 150 today. This should be 150 like that. Dr. Mudd, thanks for the share. Christy Ebster, number 66 in the fan club. Marky Man checking in from Sacramento, 44 degrees. Shout out to everybody who has a 40 degrees and below, 50 degrees and below weather this morning. So what we're talking about here today is something that we have talked about a few times. The death of Charlie Kirk, which happened, we're almost on 90 days since he passed away. Doesn't seem like it was that long ago, right? But it's been almost 90 days since Charlie Kirk passed. It was September 10th of this year, and today is December the 4th. So a week away from that. Candace Owens, as we know, ever since Charlie passed, she has been going in on the official story that we were told as with regards to what happened that day, who did what, who was the shooter, what was their motive, why did they do it, what happened behind that. She didn't believe that story, the official story. We were told that this guy, Tyler Robinson, this guy who's dating a man who's becoming a girl. She doesn't believe that was the person. She doesn't believe he was the shooter alone, let alone does she believe that he acted alone. She has theorized, some may call it conspiracy theorizing, but she has theorized that there's a much bigger plot going on with what happened with Charlie Kirk. And we know over the last several months, Candace Owens has been going on her show. Well, she already had a show and doing investigative journalism into this Charlie Kirk situation. Now, first thing, let's understand that Candace Owens already had a podcast and already had a platform before Charlie Kirk got shot. She was friends with Charlie Kirk. She had worked at and with Charlie Kirk at TPUSA for many years. She wasn't with them anymore. She has her own independent platform, her own podcast, which I think is just called Candace or the Candace Owens Show. And she does investigative journalism. She finds a topic that she's interested in. She does a deep dive on it, and she tries to come to a conclusion to find out what's actually going on. So some topics she's done this on. She talked about Blake Lively, some actress, and Ryan Reynolds, some situation that happened with them, some conflict over, I don't even know. I don't follow that kind of stuff, but she talked about that. A lot of people were talking about that. Then she did a deep dive on, another thing she's done is a deep dive on Kamala Harris when she was running for president. Is Kamala Harris actually black, as she was claiming? Is she actually from Jamaica, or anybody in her family from Jamaica? She did a deep dive on that. She did a deep dive on the Macron family. Is the first lady, quote unquote, of France, that's the wife of the president. Is that an actual man or is it an actual woman? She did a deep dive on that. She got sued for that. That suit is still pending, going through the courts. And then when Charlie Kirk got shot, she decided on her own volition, hey, I need to dive into this Charlie Kirk shooting story because I'm not buying the official story. I don't like the way this is going. Most of you probably already know that. I've talked about Candace Owens a few times in the last month or two based on all the attention she's gotten because of what she said about the Charlie Kirk situation. Now, here's the issue. What's happened with Candace's questioning of the Charlie Kirk death narrative is that a lot of people, for whatever reason, you all can draw your own conclusions. A lot of people don't like the fact that she's asking questions. They don't like the fact that she's asking questions. They don't like the fact that she is also making assertions. They don't like the fact that she is knocking down and shooting down, at least according to her, the official narratives being told about what happened that day, how he got shot, who was behind it, what was happening leading up to this. And they don't like the fact that Candace has been very adamantly pointing the finger at Turning Point USA. They also don't know what Turning Point USA is. That's TPUSA for short. That is the organization that was started by Charlie Kirk, a not-for-profit organization that became very big behind Charlie Kirk as the machine behind it. Although showing up to college campuses and debating people and taking the questions and going back and forth, Charlie Kirk was doing that for years. That's how he built up his name. That's how he became very well known. And one of the main reasons he was able to play a big role in helping Donald Trump get reelected in 2024. Charlie Kirk had a lot to do with that. TPUSA is the name of his organization. They have a lot of fans. They have a lot of supporters all over the country, and they take in a lot of money and donations. And TPUSA has been being fingered by Candace Owens for the last 3 months as either several things Candace has said. Either A, they knew what was about to happen to Charlie in some way. They being some people in the organization, not the entire organization, every single person, not the maintenance man. But somebody in TPUSA knew something about what was going to happen to Charlie, and they let it happen. She has alluded to that. She has alluded to that there were people at TPUSA whose job was to, of course, protect the golden goose. Charlie Kirk was the golden goose of TPUSA, or at least we thought he was, and they didn't protect the golden goose. They were supposed to make sure security was right so that something like what happened to him that day at Utah Valley University didn't happen, and it did happen. And that it seems, Candace has alluded to this and pretty much come out and said it, there are people inside that TPUSA umbrella, under that umbrella, who wanted to take Charlie Kirk's spot. And now that Charlie Kirk is dead and gone, they can take his spot. TPUSA is still taking in money because they took in a lot of money after Charlie Kirk got shot. They got a lot of support after he got shot, and they are just going to run the organization without him. And many other things that she said. I mean, she does an hour-long episode, probably 5 days a week, and she's been doing this for a couple months, going at this whole Charlie Kirk story, and partially in the process, going at Turning Point USA. All that being said, let me just introduce myself because I need to go through all this stuff here today. Let me introduce myself, then I'll get back to, I'm going to pick up right where I left off. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete. I'm author of a few books. I've done a few TEDx talks. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Our focus here is helping you step up your leadership, your aura, your energy, your power, and the imprint that you leave on other people through what we call the power presence, which is the 85% of communication that is nonverbal. Your tone, your volume, the things that you don't say, your body language, your eye contact, your energy, your posture, all of those things play a big role in how people are perceiving you, whether they decide to listen to you or ignore you, whether they remember you or forget about you. And this determines how much money you can make, whether you get promoted or not promoted, whether people notice you, don't notice you, whether you get that date or don't get that date, whether someone wants to be your friend or they just want to push you away. 85% of communication is nonverbal, folks. You want to get into the Power Presence Mastermind and have me as your direct coach on how to master these things so that you can use them in your personal and your professional life. Go to the link in my profile. That's powerpresenceprotocol.com and /mastermind and learn about the mastermind. We have other pieces of the program. That link is in my profile. Now, getting back to right where I was at. All these things that Candace Owens has said, and all this shaking of the, we don't even call it rattling the cage. We call this stomping on the hornet's nest that Candace Owens has been doing, has finally led to the people at Turning Point USA responding to Candace Owens. Because for the most part, she has been getting a ton of blowback. First of all, she's getting a ton of blowback, but she's getting blowback from just randoms on the internet. Not randoms, but people who are not TPUSA. Some of them very well-known people, at least on the internet. They've been going at Candace and bashing her. She's been getting a ton of bashing from a lot of people especially for the last 6 weeks. But the people at Turning Point USA have generally been ignoring what she's saying and not really saying anything back or clapping back, as you all may say, to Candace Owens. Until yesterday, things changed. Did y'all hear about this? Give me a yes or no if you heard about what Turning Point USA, the organization, had to say to or about Candace Owens yesterday. Did y'all know about this? Okay, so a lot of y'all don't know about this. Okay, so Turning Point USA responded. There's a guy named Blake Neff. Blake Neff. And he is on X. His name on X is Blake S. Neff. He is the producer of the Charlie Kirk Show. Now, he is generally a behind-the-scenes guy, Mr. Blake Neff. And I listened to Candace's show this morning, and she said generally Blake Neff is a good guy. She never had an issue with Blake Neff. This is Blake in the middle there. Charlie Kirk was a pretty tall guy. I think Charlie was like 6'5". So what does that make Blake? Maybe about 5'11". So that's Blake, the guy with the bald head and the glasses. That's him in the middle right there. So that's Blake Neff. This is his profile picture from X. So Blake, yesterday on the Charlie Kirk Show, yesterday on the Charlie Kirk show, he put out a statement about Candace Owens. He put out a statement about all the things that Candace Owens had been saying. I'm going to go point by point through all the things that Blake said, because there's some things I have to say about the things he said. And at the end of all his response, and his response is on X, you can find it, is on his profile. It's the second post. He got 1.2 million views. The video is about 12 minutes long. And the part that he clipped here is about 5 or 6 minutes. And he said, this is his caption to the video. I'm not going to play the video. He said, for the past 3 months, we received a flood of questions about Candace Owens and her claims attacking Charlie's closest friends. Keep that phrase in mind, Charlie's closest friends, because this one's been used a lot. I'm going to come back to that. For 3 months, we preferred to remain silent, but the attacks have not stopped. So she's calling what Candace is doing attacks. Many people have called it that. Today, I delivered this response, and that's the video that he put out on the Charlie Kirk show. So the Charlie Kirk show is still called the Charlie Kirk show. Of course, Charlie Kirk is not there anymore. They have different people come in and basically rotating guests responding to what's being said. Now I got to read the other tweet that he posted. He posted this 7 hours ago, so about 1 o'clock in the morning. Yes, he posted this at 1:21 a.m. Eastern today. This is what he said. He said the live stream. So at the end of his statement about Candace Owens, I'm going to go through the statement in a moment. At the end of his statement, Blake offered Candace Owens to come do a live stream with us, the people of TPUSA and some of Charlie's closest friends. Keep that phrase in mind. Charlie's closest friends. They use that phrase a lot. Not TPUSA, but a lot of people. So some of Charlie's closest friends, and some of them, the people that Candace Owens has been naming and accusing and asserting things about them in a negative way over the last 3 months. Some of those people are all going to be together doing a live stream from the TPUSA headquarters studio, which is in Phoenix, Arizona. And at the end of this statement that Mr. Neff put out yesterday, he invited Candace Owens to be part of this stream so that Candace can ask her questions. She can make her statements, and or those people, friends of Charlie Kirk, Charlie's closest friends, they can refute or argue about or push back against whatever points Candace Owens, has made about this whole situation. Now, Blake Neff said, we're offering this to Candace Owens to come and do this. Now, here's what he said. Here's the follow-up post. So now that you have that context, here's what he said. He said, the live stream that we announced on the show Wednesday, that was yesterday, has been set. So this is the live stream to which he and TPUSA are inviting Candace Owens to be on this live stream so they can have a live conversation. Pay attention to the details here. At 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. local time on Monday, December the 15th. So that's not this Monday, but the following Monday. A collection of Charlie's friends, again, that phrase again, Charlie's friends, will respond to statements made by, and they tagged Candace Owens, to set the record straight once and for all prior to the opening of America Fest, which I guess is a big TPUSA event. We'll be live streaming from Charlie's Phoenix studio. Our offer from yesterday holds. And here's a detail that just caught my eye. If Candace wishes to join us in person in Phoenix, she is welcome to do so. She can let us know by the end of today. So he posted that this morning. So Candace has until the end of today to let them know that she is going to join them. And one thing that caught my attention here before I get into everything else, he said in person. Now, here's the thing about this. There's a couple things about Candace joining them in person that makes this sounds kind of tricky to me. I think there may be a little bit of deception in this. Is that, first of all, Candace Owens just announced last week, whether you believe her or you don't believe her, she announced that she believes that the leadership in the country of France has put money on her head to have her eliminated, assassinated. That's what she said. Y'all heard her say that? That she believes that people in France are trying to get her killed? That's number one. Number two, Candace is a female. Number three, Candace has been adamantly bashing a whole bunch of people from TPUSA and their satellites, people around them. That's number three. And number four, they're having the event at their headquarters with all of Charlie's closest friends, and they're inviting Candace to come in there. So they're inviting Candace to come into the Lions Den with a bunch of Lions who already are mad at her, don't like her, et cetera, et cetera. Candace has made it known she has a very small team. Now, I'm not thinking she's going to walk in there and they're going to beat her up. But at the same time, this seems kind of tricky. It sounds like there's a lie in this offer. That's what it just sounds like to me. The first thing I noticed when they said, we're inviting Candace to come on a live stream and debate with us, and Candace posted on her profile. Let me pull up what Candace said on her profile, because she did respond to this. the episode that she just put out yesterday just said, let's go. They invited me to come. They invited me to come be on the show. Let's go do it. So she put out this episode that said, today on the show, Turning Point USA throws down the gauntlet. They're ready to just answer the questions about 9-10, and they're calling me out. Let's go, with a whole bunch of O's. So clearly Candace is excited about this. The thing is, Candace is saying, let's go, let's have the conversation. TPUSA is saying, let's have the conversation. But there's a small difference in detail here that Candace hasn't responded to yet. I haven't seen Candace say anything about this yet. One is Candace saying, let's do the live stream. And on her show, which I listened to this morning, from her show from yesterday, I listened to it this morning, Candace Owens said, let's do it today. Let's do it tomorrow. Yesterday, she said, let's do it tomorrow. She said, let's have the conversation ASAP. Let's not delay it. Let's not schedule it. Let's just do it right now. Let's just have the conversation immediately. What TPUSA is saying, and let's have the conversation in a week and a half. Okay, fine. I think they can figure that one out. But I think Candace Owens is imagining we could do the show. I'll be here I believe Candace lives in Nashville. I'll do the show here in Nashville. I'll record. It's a live stream, right? So I got the internet here in Nashville. You all have the internet over there in Phoenix. Just bring me on the stream. Let's do a live stream. Let's have the conversation. TPUSA, though, is saying it has to be in person because this is what Blake Neff said. Let me read again what Blake Neff said. And some of you may think that these details don't matter. I think this detail right here is exactly where the deception occurs. That's why I'm reading this. They said, if Candace wishes to join. So basically what Blake is saying, the producer of Charlie Kirk's show is saying, is that we are going to basically shoot down everything that Candace Owens has said. Me and Charlie's closest friends. Again, keep that phrase in mind. I keep bringing it up because I want y'all to keep that in mind. We are going to shoot down all the things that Candace has said about this whole situation. We're going to do it whether Candace is there or not. He's saying, if Candace wishes to join us, she is welcome to do so. In other words, we're doing this one way or another. And if you want to join us and be part of this, you can be, but we're going to do it whether you're there or not. If she's not there, then that conversation means absolutely nothing because it's just one side talking and it's not the other side that's been bashing. And the only reason they're doing it is because of what Candace said. So now they're going to respond to Candace without Candace in the room if she isn't there, which doesn't make any sense. And they're saying if she wishes to join us in person in Phoenix. So she has to come to Phoenix and be in alliance then with a bunch of people who she's been bashing by name for months. What does that sound like to y'all? How y'all feel about that? My question. So you're going to invite a female into the alliance, then all the people she's been bashing are men. I'm just thinking, how does this look and how does this feel? So you and a bunch of men, so let's say it's 10 of them. 10 men who all don't like Candace because they either work at TPUSA or Candace has been bashing them, whether they work there or not. They want Candace to come to their studio in Phoenix, a female, so the 10 of them can push back on Candace Owens. And she's made some really strong allegations. She's talking that you all either knew about, had a hand in, or you turned a blind eye to a man losing his life at the place that you work. And he's the guy who put all this in motion. And now y'all want her to show up to your place so y'all can tell her that she's wrong. This just doesn't sound right. There's a lie in here. There's a lie somewhere in this offer. That's what I thought the first time I saw it. As soon as I saw Blake Neff say, we're inviting Candace on a live stream to have the conversation, I said, okay, do the live stream right now. Y'all can do the live stream immediately. I think the same thing Candace thinks, which is, why don't we just do it today? Let's do the live stream right now. Why should they do the live stream right now? Because if the people at TPUSA are telling the truth, why do you need a week and a half to get ready? Question. If you're telling the truth, why do you need a week and a half to get ready? You need a week and a half to get ready to tell the truth? I don't. I can tell the truth right now. Just ask me a question right now. I'll tell you the truth right now. I don't need to get ready. Several things with Blake Neff's statement, in addition to that we got to get to. So she's saying do it right now. That's what Candace said. Do it tomorrow. So it sounds like they're having two different conversations. On Candace's show yesterday, she said, let's do it tomorrow. I don't think she's meaning I'm going to get on a plane and fly to Phoenix tomorrow. I don't think that's what she meant. I think what Candace is intimating is I got the internet here. Y'all got the internet over there. Let's make it happen and let the whole world see it. And you all can monetize it. TPUSA, y'all can make money off of it. Let's monetize it in the name of Charlie. Let's have this conversation. They're saying we're doing it in a week and a half and you got to come to us. Blake Neff, producer of the Charlie Kirk Show, there's a lie in here. I don't like the way this sounds. This is sounding a whole lot like a whole bunch of posing, which is going to look like posing by both sides. And then if it ends up not happening, of course, all the people who don't like Candace are going to say, oh, well, Candace chickened out. She wouldn't come do it. She did all that. She talked all that shit and then she wouldn't show up. Well, first of all, you're inviting her to the Lions Den with a whole bunch of people who she's been bashing in person. She's a female. Y'all are all men. She ain't bashing any women. She only bashed men. She didn't say anything about Erica Kirk. She said something about the TPUSA folks and the people who were there before Erica took over. Erica didn't join the organization until after Charlie was dead. So you're inviting her to a Lions Den with a whole bunch of men. And if she doesn't show up into the Lions Den, then you're going to just say, oh, whatever she says, null and void, because we're going to sit here and bash it, but we don't have to answer back to anything she has to say. There's a lie in this. So I'm not feeling the way this was laid out. I think if Blake Neff and his people are telling the truth, and they have nothing but the truth to tell, and they have nothing to hide, they should have no problem with Candace Owens participating via the internet. What's the difference? Why does Candace have to be there in person? Can somebody answer that question? Why does she need to be there in person if all y'all doing is talking? It's not like y'all not fist fighting. There's not a sparring match. Y'all just talking. She can talk from where she's at. Candace have 4 kids, 3 or 4 kids. She's a mom, a stay-at-home mom, I guess. And all of you are all of y'all. Why does she need to come to Phoenix? Can somebody answer that question? Why does she have to come to Phoenix for this conversation to happen? And some of you may say, well, it probably would be make for better TV. I agree. It'd be better TV if she was there in person or if it was happening in person. But why would she have to come to Phoenix for them to answer what she says directly with her? And she said, I want to look them in the eye, had a conversation. Again, you look people in the eye through a camera lens. I'm putting it out there, and I want y'all to keep this in mind. If this ends up happening, good. I will just say I was wrong about this point. And I got a whole bunch more points that we haven't gotten to yet. This sounds like a lie. That's what it sounds like to me. And when I say a lie, what I mean is not that they're lying that they're having the event. I don't mean that they're lying that they want Candace to be able to answer if they want to respond back. That's not what I mean when I say a lie. When I say there's a lie in this, I mean that as a metaphor. There's a lie in it in that they are puffing their chest out like we want Candace to show up so we can address her nonsense to her face. But I think the lie is they are setting the parameters in such a way that it becomes kind of impossible for it to make sense for one side of the conversation so that they can just say, oh, well, look at this coward. She wouldn't show up and answer to all the nonsense she's been saying about us and talk about it to our faces. Therefore, it means whatever she's saying is a bunch of bullshit. So here we are. We're just going to bash her without her being here in the room. And then we'll declare ourselves the victors because, look, we knocked down everything that she said, even though she wasn't here to respond to it. It sounds like a lie to me. Everybody get what I'm saying? Sounds like they're lying. They're setting this up in this way specifically so that they can declare victory. But maybe I'll be wrong about all this. I hope I'm wrong about it. I don't know if Candace is going to show up to Phoenix. If she does, that'd be great. I don't know if TPUSA is willing to bend and say, let's do it just live stream. I mean, if it's a live stream, what's the problem? And I'm sure Candace is going to talk about this on her episode that comes out today and then on Friday. This should be addressed. And it shouldn't be, oh, you got to meet our parameters for us to respond by telling the truth about what we claim to be your bullshit. You've been doing it through the internet. We responded through the internet. But now in order for us to address it directly, you got to show up in person. That doesn't make any sense. Does it make sense to y'all? That doesn't make sense to me. And again, it's a small detail, but the devil's in the details, folks. And I think this is the toehold that TPUSA might use to try to weasel their way out of having this direct conversation. But again, as I said, I hope I'm wrong about everything that I just said. Now, let me talk a little bit more about this. So this is a 12-minute monologue that Mr. Blake Neff, that's the guy I just told you about, he put this out. Now, here's another thing about Blake Neff's commentary. If y'all didn't see the video, you go see the video. It's 12 minutes long. It's worth listening to hear what he says because, well, I'm going to break down a bunch of what he said, but it's worth listening to him say it so you understand. Here's the problem. First problem from Mr. Neff. He was reading. Blake Neff was reading from a piece of paper. Now, you can see him looking down the whole time. He's reading. He's not reading from a teleprompter where he tries to make it look like he's looking at the camera. No, he's reading. He's looking down, reading. Here's the problem I got with that Turning Point USA. Here's the problem, Blake. If you're telling the truth, what you reading for? You don't need to read the truth. Let me just pause there. You don't need to read the truth. The truth is just the truth. If it's one truth, what are you writing it down for? You don't have to write down the truth. Just say it. So maybe you say, well, they had to write down a list of all the nonsense that Candace Owens has said. We're going to get to that. There's no lawsuit happening here. Candace Owens is not about to sue Turning Point USA. On what grounds? She's not about to sue them. I don't know. I hope they're not about to sue Candace Owens. Maybe they will, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe that's why they're doing it. But why is he reading from a prepared statement? All he's saying is, long story short, what Blake is saying, and again, watch the video yourself. Don't take my word for this. All he is saying is that Candace Owens has said a bunch of stuff that's not true, and she's bashing us. She's bashing the character of our organization, bashing the character of some specific people, and we don't like it. We've had enough of it. That's why we want to shut her the hell up. That's what he's saying. If that's the case, why are you reading from a prepared statement? I don't understand it. If you're really telling the truth, there's nothing to prepare. What do you need your lawyer to write that for? It sounds like it was written by a lawyer. If you listen to the video by Blake Neff, it sounds like he's reading something that a lawyer wrote down, and it's clearly not his own words. If you're saying your own words, you don't need to keep looking at the script. Like, I take notes. When I do these live streams, I have notes. I look at my notes, but at the same time, I'm giving you what I actually think. I'm riffing off my own notes. That's why I can look at the camera the whole time that I'm talking. I can go on tangents. I can come back to where I was at. Why? Because it's my words. So he's reading somebody else's words. You're the producer of the show. You're one of the main people at Turning Point USA. Why do you need notes? If you're telling the truth, there are no notes to the truth, folks. There's no preparation for the truth. You need a week and a half to prepare to tell the truth. That's why Candace said, let's do it tomorrow. Which is why this is a point in Candace's favor, as far as I'm concerned. She said, let's go do it tomorrow. Now, granted, she's the one asking questions. She's not the one supplying the information. But at the same time, if you're telling the truth, then we can do it right now. We ain't got to wait. Just turn the camera on. Let's do it. That's the way I'm looking at it if I'm telling the truth. Now, Blake emphasizes that Turning Point USA has shown restraint up until now. The organization has shown restraint. And they want to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy by defending his friends. Now, let's get into this Charlie's closest friends or Charlie's friends. Let's get into that. This is what they're using this as a crutch. All right, this is a crutch. And everybody's been saying this about Candace Owens for the last 90 days. For the last 3 months, people have been using this phrase, Charlie's friends.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me, you're not that guy.
And the people who care about Charlie. They saying Candace Owens is doing a disservice to Charlie's friends and the people who cared about Charlie and the people who are closest to Charlie and to Charlie Kirk's wife. She's doing a disservice to all those people by questioning them and calling their names out and asserting things and saying that they're lying. She's doing a disservice to all of Charlie Kirk's closest friends. All right, this is it's a verbal crutch, and you got to pay attention to this.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me, you're not that guy.
Why is this a verbal crutch? Because the only person who got shot on September 10th, 2025 at that event was Charlie Kirk. Is this true? Only person who got shot was Charlie Kirk. Nobody else got shot. Nobody else at TPUSA got shot. No one else got targeted, it doesn't appear. Nobody's been shot since of the people involved in this situation. So every time people are attacking Candace Owens, what they say is, oh, well, these are the people who are closest to Charlie, right? So let's say somebody, this guy named Mikey McCoy is a person that Candace has been naming and saying that something about this guy is not right. And you can go listen to our show. You want to hear the details of what she had to say about the guy. But let's just say him. And there's another guy named Andrew Kovic. I think his name Kovalit, something like that. Him and some other people. And let's just say Mr. Neff. She didn't really talk about him that much, not in a bad way. What they say is, well, these are the people, Mike McCoy, for example, these are the people who were close to Charlie Kirk. So Candace Owens, by saying something negative or questionable about the people who were close to Charlie Kirk, that means you're disrespecting Charlie Kirk. That is bullshit. All right, this is a crutch.
Guy, trust me, you're not that guy. Okay.
What they're trying to use here is a form of the bandwagon fallacy. How is this a bandwagon fallacy? Because they're saying, well, Charlie Kirk got shot, right? Charlie Kirk's dead. So we should feel sorry for Charlie Kirk and we shouldn't bash Charlie Kirk's legacy because he's dead. Candace Owens is not bashing Charlie Kirk's legacy. She is attacking the people who were next to Charlie Kirk because she believes they didn't do the right thing. What they are doing is trying to defend themselves and the people they sent out to defend them against Candace Owens by saying, well, these people were close to Charlie. So if you like Charlie, you can't say something about him. That's nonsense. And they use this over and over and over again. So when you hear this phrase, Charlie Kirk's closest friends, you notice even Blake in his statement, they use that. Charlie's closest friends, we're all going to get together to have a conversation about what Candace is saying. So what are they doing? They're using Charlie Kirk's name as a way of defending themselves. They're not actually defending their point. They're using Charlie Kirk's name as a way of saying, hey, we're Charlie Kirk's friends. That means you can't say anything about us. Because, see, if you bash Charlie Kirk, you look like a fool. You look inhumane. You have no empathy, like a lot of people on the political left look like when Charlie Kirk got shot that week after he got shot. That's why I was doing lives talking about that for a whole week after he got shot. They're using Charlie Kirk's name as a way of guilting you by association and through emotional appeal to emotion.
Emotional, damn it.
To keep you from saying anything about them. These people are using his name. And is this the same thing they're accusing Candace Owens of? Yes or no? The question is, are the people who are attacking Candace Owens, are they not saying Candace Owens is using Charlie Kirk's name to grift and draw attention and get followers and make money and keep people watching her podcast? She's just using Charlie Kirk's name. That's what they're saying about her, right? They're doing the same thing. They're using Charlie Kirk's name to say, don't question me, don't challenge me, don't assert anything about me, don't ask any questions about anything that I've said because I'm Charlie Kirk's friend. Are they not doing the exact same thing? They're saying I'm Charlie Kirk's friend, so don't question me. But then they're turning around and saying, well, Candace Owens, you're using Charlie Kirk's name to get people to watch your podcast. You're using Charlie Kirk, and they're using Charlie Kirk's name to get people to not challenge them on anything. They are doing the same thing they're accusing Candace Owens of doing. If you really pay attention to the details here. And I pay attention to these details and the little ways that people use language, because this is where they sneak shit in. And smart people are really good at sneaking things in their language in ways that most people don't notice. But I notice all this stuff. That's why I'm pointing it out. That's why we're talking about this here today. Now, Blake Neff announces a forthcoming live stream to dissect Owens' claims point by point with receipts. This is what he says. We're going to dissect your claims point by point with receipts. Here's what I think about that. First of all, there's no way that they are going to be able to dissect her claims point by point with receipts over what Candace Owens is going to show up with. I don't think they would win. I think they would lose that battle. If that happens, I don't think they would win. Which is the reason why, the way he framed this, let's read what Mr. Neff said again. Here's what Blake said. Blake Neff said, a collection of Charlie's friends. And they invited Candace Owens. So they're already telling you right there. What are they telling you right there? Anybody notice what they're telling you? Can somebody decipher that? They said, we're going to do a live stream with a collection of Charlie's friends, but they're inviting Candace Owens. Anybody read in between the lines of what they're actually doing? I already said it earlier in this live. But it tells you a little bit about the validity of what they have. Yeah, Shauna says she's the outsider. Yes, the Mrs. Kissling, there's more of us. They're going to gang up on her. That's what they got to do. They got to gang up. Again, if you're telling the truth, why you got to gang up? You don't need a gang of people to tell the truth. All you need is the truth itself. So Candace Owens is invited. Just Candace Owens by herself. She got to come into your space, in your town, in your studio, and you got a collection of people to go against her. So you got to put her in front of the firing squad so you can clear up all the things she said with receipts. Well, if you have receipts, again, if you're just telling the truth, why do you need a whole bunch of people? Why do you need a collection of Charlie's friends? It can just be Blake. It can just be Blake Neff. Why can't Blake Neff just go on a live stream with Candace Owens, live on Instagram or TikTok or on their platforms, one of their platforms, just have a conversation? All you got to do is just read down the list. Just read down the list and read off your receipts. Why do we need the collection of friends to show up? I'm going to tell you why the collection of friends needs to show up. Because TPUSA is doing this stream whether Candace shows up or not. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. And I'm going to listen to the stream when it happens. Whatever way it occurs, I'm going to listen to it. What's going to happen is the collection of Charlie's friends who show up, i.e. the people who Candace has been bashing, they're going to show up. And not only are they going to produce what they consider to be receipts, which I'm very dubious of already, just based on what Blake said. And we're going to get into the details of what he said in a minute. I'm already dubious because of that. But here's what's going to happen. They're going to give their version of a receipt, number one, their version of the fact, their truth, so to speak. And here's what they're going to add on to it. They're going to add on a whole bunch of something that y'all hear me use every day.
Emotional, damn it.
What they're going to do is mix in their version of a receipt with their emotional play. They're going to mix it all in together into one little mix, one gumbo. They're going to turn this into cake batter. They're going to mix in the vanilla extract with the cake batter, with the butter, with the sugar, and the egg yolk. They're going to mix it all in together with a whole bunch of emotion. That's why the people got to show up. That's why all these people are going to be at the studio, because you'll get to feel their emotion through the camera. They're going to mix emotion in with what they consider to be fact. And this is how they're going to try to persuade the audience through emotion. This is going to be an appeal to emotion extravaganza.
Emotional, damn it.
That's what TPUSA is going to do. I guarantee you that's going to happen. And when this live stream happens on December 15th, you watch it and you tell me I'm wrong. December 16th, we'll probably be here talking about it, unless something bigger occurs. That's what they're going to do. That's why they got to have these people show up in the studio. Because again, if it was just receipts, I don't need to get emotional. Receipts aren't emotional. Our receipts are just straight up objective logic. So Blake said, he said, Candace Owens has a reckless disregard for the truth. Pay attention to this language. Candace Owens has a reckless disregard for the truth. Let me ask you a question. Who else used that language against Candace Owens? Pay attention, folks. Who else used that language against Candace Owens? There's one other group. one other person or entity that y'all know about. Who was it? This is what Blake said in his statement: a reckless disregard for the truth. There was another organization or entity, rather, that used this term against Candace Owens. Anybody know who it is? Erica B? No, not them. Not the Jews. It was somebody else. It was another entity that is in the news right now. No, not Donald Trump. Does anybody know who the organization? Y'all know who it is. Y'all just nobody has said it yet. Does anybody know who said Candace has used a reckless disregard for the truth? Leather and Pearls, you got it. The Macron family, the people who are suing her right now. That's why he's reading a lawyer prepared statement. Y'all putting the dots together here? Y'all connecting the dots? He's reading a lawyer prepared statement and saying they use this exact term, reckless disregard for the truth. He also used a phrase called evil lies, in quotes, evil lies that Candace Owens is telling. They're laying the groundwork here, folks. Candace Owens knows this. She's no dummy. She'll probably say this on her show between today and tomorrow. She'll probably say this on her show. They're laying the groundwork to sue her. TPUSA is going to sue Candace Owens, especially if she doesn't show up to this live stream event, which, again, I told you there's a lie in here. I don't think it's going to happen the way that they've laid it out. The way they kind of laid out the terms, like you got to meet our terms to come have us tell you the truth. Y'all notice that? So we're going to set you straight, Candace Owens, by telling you the truth, but you got to follow our rules in order for us to tell you the truth. Y'all catching this? Do y'all notice these kind of things? I notice this kind of stuff. So when I hear people talking like this, I'm like, this doesn't sound right. As soon as I heard Blake's statement, I said, this don't sound right. And I wanted to hear what Candace had to say. She did a pretty good job of breaking it down. She doesn't point out logical fallacies like I do, but I'm going to point them out. We're going to get to that in a minute. So we're going to tell you the truth, Candace. We're going to get a group of us together so all of us can tell you the truth together at the same time in our place, on our terms. And if you meet our terms, then we'll tell you the truth. But if you don't meet our terms, then we'll just tell you our truth. We'll do it through the internet, and you won't get a chance to rebut us. Y'all notice this? I just notice these kind of things. My antenna go up when I hear this kind of stuff. So, and as I just told you, they're laying the groundwork to sue Candace Owens. If they don't have this event and Candace can't go there and talk with them, and they can't, they probably going to try to intimidate her, bully her. They're already trying to intimidate her. You got to show up to our studio with a bunch of us and just you. That's already an attempt at intimidation. They're laying the groundwork for a lawsuit because she has a blatant, reckless disregard for the truth. That is literally, ladies and gentlemen, the language of defamation. You will look up the definition of defamation and all the things that must be proven in order to win a defamation lawsuit. One of them is a reckless disregard for the truth, or you knew the truth and you told a lie anyway. So I don't think Candace Owens knows the truth and is telling a lie anyway. The other thing you can prove is like 5 things you got to prove. One of them is, one or the other here is either you knew the truth and you told a lie anyway, or B, you have a reckless disregard for the truth. This is the foundation. They're laying the foundation right now. Stay tuned and remember that I told you these things. Now, if she goes and does a live stream, then that goes out the window. But if she doesn't do it, it's coming. Now, he frames the response as necessary. This is Blake Neff. He says that the response that he just gave was necessary to, quote unquote, honor Charlie. Notice how they keep using Charlie. They're using Charlie's name, image, and likeness as an emotional shield, an emotional crutch against challenge. That's what he's doing. Every time they bring up Charlie, they're using him as, hey, Charlie Kirk died. Charlie Kirk was a good guy. You like Charlie Kirk. So that means because we were next to him, don't question us the same way you wouldn't question Charlie. All right. They're using that in a very slick, strategic way. Candace Owens knows that they're doing it. But again, there's only one Candace Owens. So let's break down what Blake Neff actually said. We haven't even gotten to the details of what he said yet, because this is a logical fallacy carnival of what Mr. Blake Neff said in this video. So let's get into it point by point of the things that he said. And again, the video wasn't that long. Now, he opens up and says, for the last several months, the topic has been flooding our inbox. It's been nonstop. Candace Owens leveled a flood of allegations against people at Turning Point USA, people at Turning Point Action. That's another subsidiary of what they have, and people who work for her show. All right, fair enough. They said Candace Owens has spent weeks telling her millions of followers that people inside of Turning Point USA murdered Charlie Kirk. All right, that's the first straw man right there. So let's fire up the soundboard here. Strawberry cheesecake. Candace Owens did not say the people at TPUSA murdered Charlie Kirk. Now, of course, he can just say he's speaking colloquially, which is what he would probably say. If he was sitting right here right now and I pointed that out, he would say, well, what I mean is he's intimating that they had something to do with it or they knew about it and he didn't do anything about it. She has, let me see what he said, get the exact phrasing that he used. Spent weeks telling her millions of followers that people inside Turning Point USA murdered Charlie Kirk. All right, this is a clear straw man, but he's bringing up that she has millions of followers. Why? Because this is establishing that this is reaching a very large audience. Again, they're laying the groundwork for a defamation lawsuit. If y'all pay attention, this is what they're doing. They're laying the groundwork for a defamation lawsuit against Candace Owens because she's reaching out to millions. See, if she only had 100 followers, then it wouldn't matter. But she has millions. That's the reason why they brought up millions of followers. They could just say million. She had spent weeks telling her followers. They brought up millions of followers because they want all this to be on the record. Pay attention. Then they say, she names specific people, what she has. Then they say, Candace has effectively tarred everyone here with complicity in Charlie's death by repeatedly saying he was betrayed by everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the exact phrasing that goes into a lawsuit. This is the exact phrasing that goes into a defamation lawsuit. When they file a lawsuit, these exact quotes will be in there. Candace has effectively tarred everyone here, that's TPUSA, with complicity in Charlie's death by repeatedly saying he was betrayed by everyone. This is defamation. Now, this is not enough to prove it, but they will try. They're going to try because just to file a defamation lawsuit, the other side has to spend a whole bunch of money. Candace has already let on. She said this in her episode yesterday. She spent $250,000 already in the Macron lawsuit, and they haven't even gone to trial yet. Did y'all know that? Candace has spent $250,000 on the Macron lawsuit and hasn't even gone to court yet. And TPUSA is going to try to do the same thing. Just filing the suit is enough to damage the person you file it against because they got to fight it. They got to hire lawyers and fight it, or they got to shut up. So pay attention here. So that's the first straw man. Next thing he said why they were silent before. He said, out of respect for the raw grief that everyone here is still processing. So what is that, folks? Anybody know what that is? What fallacy is that? Let me say it again, and y'all got to get good at pointing out these fallacies. If you listen to me consistently, you already know. Which fallacy is this? Out of respect for the raw grief that everyone here is still processing. Which fallacy is that, everybody? Somebody tell me what fallacy that is that they just used. His statement is, okay, y'all getting it. Emotional.
Emotional, damn it.
This is an appeal to emotion. This is the appeal to emotion fallacy. The raw grief that everyone here is still processing. In other words, he's saying, because we're still sad over Charlie Kirk's death, don't say anything to us and don't ask us shit. That's what he's saying. Don't ask us any questions. Don't ask us to explain anything. Don't assert anything about us because we're still grieving. That's what he's saying. I don't know if there's a date. I don't know if there's an expiration date on grieving. But have we not heard people bashing Erica Kirk by saying that she's out doing interviews and smiling and wearing makeup and giving hugs to JD Vance? And I thought she's supposed to be grieving. All right, and she's supposed to be grieving longer. It doesn't look like Erica Kirk, according to her detractors, doesn't look like she's still grieving. I say people grieve in different ways. And what I'm saying here with what Blake Neff is saying is that this is a shield. This is a crutch. They're using Charlie Kirk's death as a crutch while at the same time taking advantage of Charlie Kirk's death to build the brand of TPUSA, which I understand. They want to keep the organization going. But if you want to say Candace is grifting by making money off it, what are y'all doing? If she's grifting by making money talking about it from the outside, what are y'all doing by using it on the inside? If she's grifting, what are they doing? I need a word for what they're doing if Candace Owens is grifting. This doesn't make any sense. Now, the second thing he says, second reason, Blake says Charlie Kirk's personal philosophy was, do not feed the trolls and instead focus on the mission. Okay, that is a fair enough point. Now, Charlie Kirk would engage with dissenters, but he wouldn't engage with trolls, I guess, if that's what they want to call it. Here's the problem with this framing. All right, this is it's a loaded frame and it's a non sequitur.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
The reason why this is a non sequitur is because Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk were friends going back to like 16, 17, something like that. Candace Owens was a part of TPUSA. For those who don't know, Candace Owens worked at Turning Point USA. Candace Owens came to really she came to be known. She came to prominence through two things. She did this thing called Brexit, which is black people exiting the Democratic Party. She was very effective at that. She got a lot of attention for that herself. And through being in these TPUSA events, she would go to the colleges and debate people. This is how Candace Owens first came to my I came to know who she was because she was always be at these events. I could tell she was very articulate. She was very clear in the way she spoke. It was clear that she was conservative, and it was hard to dunk on her verbally. It was damn near impossible. That's how I found out about Candace Owens. All that was through Turning Point USA. And she was working side by side with Charlie Kirk. She shared many stories and text messages and threads that they had together and pictures and videos that they had together when they would just dance to Kanye West music before events and stuff like that. And they would text each other about all types of things. Candace Owens has been very open about sharing these things. I don't think Charlie Kirk would classify Candace Owens as a troll. So this is a non sequitur again.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
That he's saying, well, hey, Charlie Kirk said don't engage the troll. So he's trying to classify Candace Owens as a troll. Candace Owens might have had a closer relationship with Charlie Kirk than Blake Neff had with Charlie Kirk. But now she's a troll simply because she's saying something that you don't want to hear. That doesn't make you a troll. Troll is somebody who's just saying things just to get attention and they don't actually have any substance with which they're making their points. Clearly, Candace Owens has substance behind her points because finally she got Turning Point USA to respond. They literally invited her to their studio to have a live discussion about the very things that she's been saying. So clearly what she's saying has enough substance that it got your attention. But at the same time, you're trying to classify her as a troll. They're saying two things at the same time. So Blake, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth right here.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
While at the same time, you're still using Charlie Kirk's legacy and his death as a crutch and a shield for any challenge.
Emotional, damn it.
So Blake Neff, you get the first Russell Westbrook triple-double logical fallacy.
Oh, baby, a triple. Oh, yeah.
This doesn't make any sense. And all this is written by the lawyer. So I'm putting this on Blake Neff, but it's actually on the lawyers whose name we don't know. But Blake went on the camera and read this shit, so he gets credit for it. Now, he says they prioritize continuing Charlie Kirk's work over engaging in drama. Well, Charlie Kirk dying is as dramatic as it can possibly get. Now, the third reason he said they didn't respond to Candace Owens is because we didn't respond to Charlie. We didn't respond, as Charlie always viewed Candace as a friend, and we were holding out hope. This is what he says. We were holding out hope that she would return that friendship. Okay, this is another crutch type of statement. There's another appeal to emotion right here.
Emotional, damn it.
And it's a straw man as well. Why is this a straw man and an appeal to emotion? Because he's saying that Charlie viewed Candace as a friend. Well, Charlie and Candace were friends. That's true. Candace agrees to that. And what he's saying is we, TPUSA, we're holding out hope that she would return that friendship. But what exactly does that mean? This is where there's a disconnect between what Candace Owens sees and what TPUSA is seeing. TPUSA is saying that because, Candace, you were friends with Charlie, that means you should not bash, attack, or offer any negative assertions about anybody who was next to Charlie. That means us. Since you're friends with Charlie, be friends to us and don't say anything negative or question us about anything that might make us look bad. That's the way you can show friendship to us. That's what TPUSA is saying. What Candace Owens is saying, on the other hand, this is two movies on the same screen. Candace Owens is saying, yes, I was Charlie Kirk's friend. I agree with you, TPUSA. However, my way of being Charlie Kirk's friend is not to not question you all about anything. My way is to question you about everything because I think you were responsible for making sure Charlie was okay, for knowing if anything bad was about to happen to him, and for protecting him in case somebody was trying to do something bad to him or getting out anybody on the inside who was trying to do something bad to him. So they're basically saying the same thing. TPUSA is saying, you're Charlie's friends, don't do this. Candace Owens is saying, I was Charlie's friend, which means I have to do this. This is two movies on the same screen. So any of you, whoever has the idea, the bad idea that someone is presenting a fact and that means it must lead to a certain conclusion, I'm explaining to you right now why that's not true. Is that they both agree on the fact. Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk were friends, but they have completely different, divergent reasons for what that means. TPUSA says say nothing. Candace Owens says say everything, even though they're both agreeing on the same fact. Everybody following this? This is how two people can look at the same fact and come to completely different conclusions, and neither one of them is wrong. I think I think this is some bullshit by TPUSA, but I think they believe it. I don't think they think that they're lying right now, but I think they believe this, and I think Candace believes what she's saying. Then he adds that the attacks haven't stopped, and then he says, basically, this is what Blake Neff is saying. Since Charlie was a fighter and not a coward, at some point, he wouldn't continue to be silent. At some point, he would address the troll and get rid of the troll. So what Blake Neff is, or TPUSA's lawyers, via Blake Neff, are saying is that Candace Owens is being so much of a troll and being so relentless as a troll that in the spirit of Charlie, we will address the troll, Candace, and we're going to shut her the hell up. That's what they're claiming that they're going to do. But again, I'm dubious of the way that they made this offer. Now, let's continue. They offer some specific allegations from Candace Owens, and they deny specific things. So let's get into this, because this is where the logical fallacy carnival actually begins. I haven't even gotten started yet. Here's the real fallacies. So Blake Neff, step by step, he breaks down some of Candace Owens' what he claims to be her key claims. He says they are absurd and unsubstantiated. This is legal speak. When you hear these terms, absurd allegations, unsubstantiated allegations. What does unsubstantiated means? It means that somebody made an assertion, but they don't have an actual proof that it's true. Well, something can still be asserted and it can still be true, even though there may not be enough proof yet that it's true. It's all part of a reckless disregard for the truth. Again, this is the term that he used. He stresses that TPUSA denies all allegations that I'm about to lay out. He promises that they will give evidence in the upcoming live stream. Now, based on the way he laid out his points in the video, which I'm about to get to, I am highly dubious. I'm highly dubious, 98% dubious, with 100% being I'm already decided to not believe what they say based on the way he laid these out, because there's a bunch of fallacies in the way they laid these points out. Mostly they use a straw man. For those of you who know what the straw man is, the straw man is when I use this sound.
Strawberry cheesecake.
And the straw man is, folks, when someone takes a point that was made, they change the point up into something that is not what was originally said, and then they argue about the cheapened version of the point, also known as the straw man. So if I say something like, for example, if I say I like eating hamburgers, and you say, well, Dre, I didn't know that you just didn't care about the lives of cows and sheep and goats. That's a straw man. So I didn't say that. I said I like hamburgers. And you're twisting it into something that I didn't say, and then you're making a sarcastic comment that you are hoping that I respond to, or you're just hoping that it stands so that people believe that. That's a straw man. And what Blake did in this statement, again, TPUSA's lawyers via Blake Neff, what they did in this statement was straw man a bunch of things that Candace said, and then they're arguing against the straw man. And the reason why I'm dubious of what they're going to do on this live stream on December 15th, especially if Candace is not involved, is all they're going to do is a couple hours of this. They're going to take things that Candace said, or things that they claim she said. They're going to twist up what she said. Then they're going to argue about the cheapened version of what she said, and then claim, okay, now we knocked down everything Candace said, when they actually didn't. They didn't actually address the things she really said. They pull things out of context, straw man those things out, and then argue against the cheap version, and then say, well, hey, I proved it. We disproved everything Candace said, so now nobody needs to listen to Candace anymore. This is what they're doing. And again, they're laying the groundwork for a lawsuit, as I already told you. So let's start. They say Candace Owens claimed that Charlie Kirk was betrayed by everyone. Candace Owens did say that. She did say that. Everyone close to him, including TPUSA and Charlie's friends. She did say that as well. Now, they're saying that she allegedly approved the hit, not she, but TPUSA, his friends, approved the hit or turned a blind eye. Now, Candace Owens has alluded to that. She hasn't said that in so many words, but let's get his exact phrasing. He says this. Blake Neff said that Candace Owens said that Charlie's murder, open quote, had to be approved by Charlie's friends, and then suggested that those friends might have her murdered too for knowing the truth, quote unquote. He calls this an evil lie, and that paints innocent people as assassins, noting it ignores the arrest of Tyler Robinson as the lone gunman. Okay, so we got a couple things here, several things here. First of all, when Candace Owens says had to be approved by Charlie's friends, if she used that exact phrase, he says this is an exact quote from her. Maybe it is. Let's assume that it is. It's pulled out of context. We call this contextomy. Those of you don't know what that is. Contextomy is when you pull someone's words out of context and then you argue against the out of context phrase, or you use someone's words out of context to make it sound like they're saying one thing when they're actually saying another one. It's like if you take half of the sentence that I say, and you just take the half of the sentence and argue against it. Well, without the rest of the sentence, you can make it sound like I'm saying something completely different than what I'm actually saying. This is what Blake Neff did here. This is what lawyers do. They pull things out of context to make their client look like an angel and make their opponent look like the devil. And Blake Neff is reading a lawyer-prepared statement here. This is contextomy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
So they're pulling stuff out of context to make it easier to argue against. Again, this is another form of the straw man. Contextomy is generally a form of the straw man. He says these are evil lies. So then he used the appeal to emotion, calling it an evil lie because he's arguing against something that's not exactly what she said. You pulled it out of context. So if you take something somebody said out of context, you can make it sound however you want. The same way if somebody does a 3-hour video and you take a 2-minute clip out of the 3 hours, you can make it seem like the conversation went one way when it actually went another way. This is context to me. And people do this all the time these days. Now, next, she has spread the absurd claim that Tyler Bowyer, he's the COO of TPUSA, the operating officer, he sexually abuses male interns. That they said that she claimed that. Neff labels this as grotesque and false, saying that has devastated Bauer's family and career. That is not what Candace Owens said. She actually went over this on her show. She said that Tyler, he prefers younger males, not younger as in illegal, just younger, significantly younger than him. Candace Owens verified, or she confirmed on her show yesterday that that's exactly what she said, not this. So you see how he's straw manning again? So there's another straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
So he took the actual argument that Candace made about this guy, Tyler. He exacerbated it to make it sound absurd. We call this the absurd absolute, where you take things as far as you could possibly take them, and then you argue against the absurd absolute. And this is, again, this is what he did throughout this video, and this is why whatever they're going to do on December 15th, I'm highly dubious of what they're going to do. Continuing. Blake says, quote, she has suggested the TPUSA faith-affiliated pastors are part of a military, quote, infiltration of Turning Point, period, close quote. He says this is baseless paranoia, implying it's an attack on the organization's Christian outreach. Okay, a couple things about this. If you've been listening to Candace's show, you know that she has brought in this concept of these Egyptian military planes. She's been talking about this for a couple weeks. That these Egyptian military planes, and there's a connection to Wilmington, Delaware, and then it looks like the planes were going the same place that Charlie was going, and then one of those planes was in Utah the day that Charlie got shot, and it's very close to where Charlie got shot. The plane was there, then it left right after he got shot, and then she thought the plane might have been tracking Charlie. Then it found out that the plane. Then she did some more digging, and her fans, and you got millions of people watching your show. You got really smart people watching. Some of her fans gave her updates on the Wilmington, Delaware leak, and some people who work in the government. And then it comes out that she's saying it looks like the plane was not tracking Charlie Kirk, but the plane was actually tracking Erica Kirk, Charlie's wife. Looks like the plane was tracking Erica. And then she brings in some of those Christian people who she has bashed, a couple of those Christian people. And she says, he said that she said, so this is he said, she said, he said, she said, that some of these people are militarily connected, and it has somehow, some way infiltrated Turning Point. He says this is baseless paranoia. Well, we don't know. How will we ever know? The only way we would ever know is if this goes to discovery, which would mean there had to be a lawsuit or some type of criminal case. And right now, there's neither one. But it could happen. So that's all we can say about this for now. Continuing. Neff says that Candace Owens alleged, quote, financial impropriety and fraud at Turning Point adding up to the millions of dollars, close quote. He refutes this by saying this is not true. Charlie made sure the organization was audited by a third party every year. He personally reviewed and signed off on every expense report and literally every single bill paid by the organization down to a single United States dollar. Close quote. This is a straw man. And let me tell you why it's a straw man. Let me give him the cheesecake.
Strawberry cheesecake.
The reason why this is a straw man is because that is not what Candace was referring to when she said this. So again, when you're dealing with lawyers or you're dealing with people who are just really smart and they're trying to defend themselves and they're trying to stay away from certain conversations, they're really good at pulling things out of context and arguing against them as if they have satisfied your desires. And to people to the uninitiated, this is very misleading. What Candace Owens was talking about was that Charlie Kirk wanted to create a Doge-like entity within Turning Point USA. So for those who don't know, Turning Point USA, that's Charlie Kirk's organization. They take in millions of dollars in donations every year. They make a lot of money, this organization. They're not for profit, so their money goes out, but they bring in a ton of money. Charlie Kirk, just this year, because Doge just came out this year, right? That was Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk inside the Trump organization. Nobody was calling anything Doge before this year. This year, Charlie Kirk wanted to create a Doge for TPUSA because he wanted to make sure the money that was coming in was going where it was supposed to go and that every dollar was accounted for. That's why he wanted a Doge-like organization. And this is why Blake is quoting that Owens alleged financial impropriety and fraud adding up to the millions of dollars. Now, she didn't actually say that in so many words. What Candace Owens has said is that Charlie Kirk wanted a Doge because he was questioning where the money was coming from and where the money was going. That's what she said. Now, what Blake Neff says is that he answers a different question. Again, this is the straw man. He answers a different question. What he said was, Charlie made sure the organization was audited by a third party every year. Okay, true. He personally reviewed and signed off on every expense report and literally every single bill paid by the organization down to $1. Okay, that's also true. But that second sentence has nothing to do with anything. It's a non sequitur. Non sequitur means it does not follow. It's when someone makes one point, then they make another point, and the 2 points have no connection, but it sounds like they do. This second sentence has nothing to do with anything. They say that Charlie made sure his organization was audited by a third party every year. This is also a non sequitur. Just because your organization is audited by a third party every year does not mean you don't still want to look even deeper, have the watchers watch the watchers to make sure your money's going where it's supposed to go. So these are two non sequiturs that he put up here as a refuting of Candace Owens' alleged point. That's not even what Candace said, and it doesn't even address what Candace was talking about. This is how they trick you, folks. They answer a question that has nothing to do with what you actually asked, and then it sounds like they're giving you something substantial, and then you feel like your need has been satisfied when they never actually addressed the question. This is what he just did right there. And Candace Owens she's pretty good with words. Hopefully, if they have this event, which I'm about a 30-70 that this event actually happens. Because the way TPUSA laid it out, I think they're setting it up so that she doesn't do it so that they can declare victory. If it does happen, I hope Candace calls them out on this, but I'm dubious that this is happening. Again, I give it a 30% likelihood this event occurs. Continuing. More conspiracy theories, they say. Neff says that Candace Owens implicated French paratroopers, Egyptian military planes, and Zionist billionaires. She did mention all three of those things in different ways at different times. Yes, she did. In an international assassination plot, which she also mentioned because she's talking about herself and possibly Charlie. And she involved Emmanuel Macron, that's the president of France. Yes, she mentioned him. Egyptian agents, she did mention them. And Zionist controlled forces, she has mentioned them. Now, Neff groups all of these as wild accusations. That's what he calls them. Wild accusations. Again, that's an appeal to emotion. Wild accusations that they don't have evidence. That's a new go-to for everybody these days. As soon as you hear an accusation against you that hasn't been quite proven yet, you just say you don't have evidence. And that they have fueled harassment. Again, this is appeal to emotion. He says Candace Owens has spent weeks telling her millions of followers these stories. Again, millions of followers. There's a reason they keep saying that. Which has triggered, pay attention here, folks. This is one of the pieces needed for a defamation lawsuit. It has triggered death threats, doxing, and relentless harassment of TPUSA staff and even the families of student chapter leaders. These are the material harm that you need to prove defamation. This is written by a lawyer for a reason. The lawyers are just laying the foundation. We about to get this bitch. That's what they're thinking. That's why they laid it out just like this. So that this is all on the record. That has all been said. And this is the reason why Blake Neff was reading word for word everything on that paper. He didn't get to add any of his own commentary to this because they didn't want him to. Read it exactly as we tell you, Blake. This is laying the ground for this is laying the foundation for the lawsuit. And Candace knows it's coming. She should know. If she doesn't know, somebody let her know. It's coming. Especially if she doesn't come to this event. And I don't think she's going to show up to Phoenix for this event, the way they laid it out. So now it gives them the perfect cover. Okay, we invited her to an event to clear the air. She wouldn't come to the event to clear the air. So now we have no choice but to sue her because she's damaging our reputation and costing us money at TPUSA. She has millions of followers who now don't trust TPUSA and they think that we're some type of scam and that we set up Charlie in some way. So we had to sue Candace Owens to shut her up because she's defaming our organization. She has to pay us she'll be liable for paying us the damages to make up for the money that she has cost us with all these reckless lies and reckless endangerment and reckless disregard for the truth. Because look at all these things she's done. She has led to death threats, doxing, and relentless harassment of TPUSA staff and their families. Y'all paying attention? Y'all paying attention? This is legal chess, what TPUSA is doing right now. This is just the opening game of chess. And you know how to play chess. You know, you have your opening game, the middle game, and the closing game. This is the opening game of chess for TPUSA. They're developing their pawns and getting their pieces out on the board. That's what they're doing. Now, continuing. He also references Candace's claims of internal conflicts, foreign involvement, and donor fraud as part of a quote-unquote cover-up and cover-up narrative that's been rejected by authorities. All of this right here is trying to make it seem like Candace is just throwing anything out there because all the things he mentioned, she did mention, but he's not mentioning the context in which she mentioned them. So it makes her sound crazy. If you haven't listened to any of Candace Owens' show and you only listen to Blake Neff's statement, then it makes it seem like Candace Owens is crazy. the way that he languages this. And it's not that he is necessarily telling a direct lie, but he's lying by omission. He's lying through contextually, pulling things out of context and making it sound one way when it's actually another way. And you wouldn't know it's the other way unless you got the full context, which means you had to listen to the full episode, which most people are not doing. They're just going off the clips that they hear and making a decision based off that, which is why you have half the people bashing Candace Owens. You got half the people defending her because nobody's actually getting all the information. I got all the information, though. That's why I'm talking about this. So French paratroopers, Egyptian military planes, and Zionist billionaires. Yeah, she's mentioned all of those, but he put them all in one group as if she just throws things against the wall just to see if something sticks. That's what everybody's saying about Candace. Notice that's what people are saying who are bashing her. Oh, she just throws things against the wall just to see if anybody goes with it. But when you listen to it in context, it makes sense. Again, it's not that she has even come to any conclusions yet. What she is doing is asking questions. She is doing journalism through investigation, and she's letting it play out through a podcast. That's what she's doing. Only difference between what she's doing and investigative journalists back in the day is that they would do their whole investigation and then put out one story or write a book or something like that. What she is doing is letting it play out episode by episode on her show. So people are saying, well, she hasn't come to any conclusions or given any proof or evidence of certain things yet. Well, that's not what investigation is. Investigation does not mean you provide proof. Proof is what you provide when you go to court. Investigation is what you do before you get to court. Before you go to court and say, we're accusing this guy of murder, you get all the evidence, you gather it all up. What she's doing is gathering it all up, and instead of doing it quietly in the shadows, she's doing it publicly. And people are attacking the evidence that she's gathering and saying, well, she hasn't come to a conclusion yet. Well, she's not supposed to. That's why it's called investigative journalism. There's an investigation happening. It's not conclusive journalism, it's investigative journalism. Conclusive means I got all the answers. Investigative means I'm gathering the answers. That's the whole point. Boom. This is why, again, I hope y'all are paying attention because this is exactly what's happening. So he says these are wild accusations. Again, they're just trying to make it seem like she's crazy. Next point. She says the impact on the TPUSA community. Again, folks, this is a layoff for a defamation lawsuit. Here's what he says. These lies have led to, I already told you, death threats, doxing, relentless harassment, student chapter leaders' families. He said that Candace Owens' rhetoric has divided the conservative movement that Charlie Kirk built, dishonoring his memory. And he says it's all about honoring Charlie. Defending his friends is all about honoring Charlie. Okay, so once again, they're using Charlie Kirk's name as a crutch. So these people from TPUSA are using Charlie Kirk's name as a crutch for themselves. Don't attack us because we were friends with Charlie Kirk. That's what they're doing. They're using his name. And secondly, this is the other thing that's been said. I heard Tim Pool say this. Do y'all know Tim Pool? And I've heard Tim before. I've liked some of the things I've heard Tim say on different subjects at different times. But Tim Pool seems to have jumped on the bandwagon of bashing Candace Owens. He's on the bashing Candace Owens train. And there's a lot of people on that train. It's a very big train. There's a lot of people with significant followings online who are bashing Candace Owens. Tim Pool has become one of them. What Tim Pool said yesterday, I saw this on X. It was a clip from his show. Tim Pool has his own show. If y'all don't know who Tim is, y'all can look him up. And Tim Pool has been one of the people. This is what he's saying. I'm following Tim. He has 2.5 million followers on X. And he said, let me see where it was. He said, and yeah, Tim's been getting kind of angry the last couple of days. He said, I'm trying to find I can't play the clip, but I will try to find the context around what he said. It was, let's see. Hey, Tim. So Candace and Tim were going back and forth yesterday, bashing each other. I at least love when they go back and forth and actually talk to each other directly instead of talking about each other. And what Tim Pool he spent a segment saying that Candace Owens he basically was saying that Candace Owens gets all these views because of bots, or he was intimating it. He didn't say it. He intimated it. Somebody put the clip out. Then what Tim Pool says, Candace Owens actually says, she said, I love this challenge, LOL, because he says, I think people are using bots. So this what do we call it? Account on X called Project Constitution. He says that I'll offer $100 cash to anybody who can prove that Tim Pool is lying about not using bots himself. So if Tim Pool is not using bots to get views and likes and followers, then if you can prove that he is, I'll give you $100. Tim Pool says, and then Candace quote tweeted this. She said, I love this challenge. I have never used bots, nor did we spend a single dollar on advertising. We also took, $0 from investors. So Candace is basically saying we're a mom and pop shop and we are not owned by anybody. After my highly publicized firing, that's when she got fired from the Daily Wire. That's Ben Shapiro, those guys. After my firing, we made a conscious decision to come back truly solo. And that's her solo organization she has now. A team of just 4 people on the podcast, including myself, and just 1 person in ads. So Candace Owens' team is just 4 people, according to her. We actually take it as a major compliment that people think otherwise. Shows the world that things truly can be done outside of the system. But you'll probably be sued for it. Then she puts a couple funny emojis. Tim Pool responds to this, and he says, "We never said you use bots. That's a fake post. We were talking about Twitch having bot problems and how people boost their shows to get status and claim high rankings. And I've consistently explained that your show is appealing to a larger audiences and women as it's dramatic and emotional." That's what Tim Pool said. That your show is appealing to larger audiences and women because it's dramatic and emotional. All right, that's what Tim Pool said. Then Candace quote tweeted him, and she said, "Hey, Tim, so you might not be aware, but the amount of time you've been dedicating to reacting to my show is coming across a bit emotional and dramatic." And I agree with her. She's right. Because Tim Pool keeps bashing Candace Owens. And again, he's not the only one. It's not just Tim Pool. So Tim, if you're listening to this, it's not just you. There are about, what I see on X, there's about 100 people, roughly. Might be more than that. But people with significant followings, let's say 20,000 or more people. Not even 20,000, 5,000 or more people. That every day that Candace puts out an episode, they are bashing her. They take clips out of context of what she said, and they try to straw man it, and they bash it, and they try to make fun of it, and try to tell everybody else, don't listen to her, she's stupid, she's wrong, she's bad. And I'm like, this is coordinated. I told y'all this last week. Y'all remember the live I did last week when I talked about this? I said, this is coordinated. There's no way that organically all of these people think that what Candace is saying is nonsense. There's no way. This is planned. This is organic. This is a systematic takedown of Candace Owens, or they're trying to systematically take her down. It's not working, but they're definitely trying. Now, this is what, and there was something else that he said that I don't know if I can quite find it. Anyway, Tim Pool has been bashing Candace Owens, and one of the things that he said is the same thing that Blake said here. What Blake alludes to is, this is where they shift. This is where they shift the conversation from, you're bashing TPUSA and hurting us. Here's the next thing they said. You're dividing the conservative movement that Charlie Kirk built. So this is the next argument they have against Candace Owens. The first one is Candace Owens is a grifter. She's just trying to make money. When that doesn't work, they say, well, Candace Owens is dumb. She's saying stuff that doesn't make sense. That didn't work. They say, well, Candace Owens is just trying to tear down TPUSA. She's mad because she's not part of the organization. That didn't work. So next thing is, well, Candace Owens, you're dividing the conservative movement. The conservatives are about to lose the midterms in 2026. It's about to be a blue bloodbath for the conservatives in 2026. And you bashing all these people who are in support of Charlie Kirk while you're a conservative yourself, you're dividing the conservative movement, and now people won't know who to vote for, and we're about to get destroyed in the midterms, and you're still a conservative, so you should be on our side. So how about you get on the team and start saying some of the right things and get back in line and stop saying things that others in the conservative movement don't like so that we can win in 2026. Well, that sounds good on the surface. How about, though, they just get on her page? Why does she have to get on their page instead of them getting on her page? Why can't everybody just come around to where Candace is at, and then the Conservative Party will be aligned and on the same page? But they're saying you are messing up the Conservative Party because you are going against the grain. Well, let's take stock of what that means, folks. All you remember 2020 and that virus that was going around? What does it mean, everybody? What does it mean, class, when somebody's going against the grain and all the people who are going with the grain start bashing the person who's going against the grain? Does that mean the person going against the grain is wrong necessarily? The answer to that is hell no. Just because you're going against the grain does not mean that you're wrong. Doesn't mean that you're right, but also doesn't mean that you're wrong. And to tell somebody that you are messing things up because you're going against the grain, okay, that is an appeal to popularity fallacy, also known as a bandwagon fallacy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Bandwagon fallacy is one that many of you can probably understand just through the context of what the words are. Bandwagon fallacy is when you point to someone and say that because you're doing something that only a minority of people are doing, or you believe something that only a small group of people believe, and then everybody else believes this thing over here, it must mean that we are right because there's a bunch of us, and you must be wrong because there's only a few of you. That's a bandwagon fallacy. And again, it doesn't mean that because there's only a few of you that you're right. It also doesn't mean because there's a lot of you that you're wrong. Or, yeah. And it also doesn't mean that because there's a majority of people on one side or another side of a conversation that is enough reason to draw from which to draw a conclusion. We got to find out by logic, why does this make sense? And again, the bandwagon fallacy is literally called a logical fallacy because there is no logic in that. There's no logic in saying there's a bunch of us, so we must be right. That doesn't make any sense. There's a bunch of people who believed in slavery. There's a bunch of people who thought that if you put a cloth mask over your face, you couldn't transmit the virus or get it. There's a bunch of people who thought if you get the jab, then that means it's impossible for you to get the virus. Are these things that we all heard in 2020? You mean yes or no? There's a bunch of people who believe that if you stand 6 feet apart while you're standing in line at the grocery store, that means it's impossible for you to get the virus. So just stand 6 feet apart, that'll save everything. Or you just wash your hands and you can't get the virus. Did we hear these things in 2020? And were there a majority of people who believed them? Were there a majority of people who were in power? CDC, the WHO, the president's office, the executive branch of the United States government, both the Republican President Trump and the Democrat President Biden, did they all not say these things? And there were a majority of people who believed them. So just because the majority believes something does not make it true. And just because the minority believes something doesn't mean that they're right. But again, neither one of them proves the point. That's why it's called a logical fallacy, because there's no logic. So what he is saying right here, and a lot of people in the conservative movement are saying this right now. Tim Pool was one I heard him say it yesterday, but I've heard many others say this. I've seen many others say this. They say that Candace Owens' problem right now is that she has the conservative party they're divided on this issue, on the Charlie Kirk issue. And if the conservatives can't all get on the same page the way that the liberals are all on the same page, then the liberals are going to beat the conservatives in the elections, and that's going to be Candace Owens' fault. So what they're doing is laying the groundwork here, folks. So I want y'all to understand a lot of these things are long games that they're playing. It's not short games like let's put a podcast episode out for an hour and that's it. No, these are long games. So Blake Neff, through reading this statement, he's laying the long game for TPUSA suing Candace Owens for defamation. Remember that I told you this. It's December 4th, 2025. Remember I told you they're laying the groundwork to sue Candace Owens for defamation. Then the other thing is conservatives as a whole who don't work at TPUSA, who have no stake in it, in that lawsuit, well, they're going to bash Candace Owens. They're also laying the foundation for if the Republicans get smashed in the midterms in 2026, which if the midterms were today, the Republicans would get smashed. Donald Trump would see himself lose both sides of Congress and get himself impeached in January of 2027. If that happens, people are going to blame Candace Owens. That's going to happen. Conservative voters, MAGA supporters who are listening to this right now, if you all get slaughtered in the 2026 midterms, Candace Owens is going to be blamed. They won't forget about this one. Now, I'll tell you that the news cycle moves on quickly. They're not going to forget about this one. This one they'll remember. Even though it's only December and the election's not till next November, they'll remember this one. And she will get bashed if they lose in 2026, especially if they lose both sides. If they lose both sides, somebody has to be blamed. They're not going to blame Donald Trump. They're going to blame somebody else. They're going to blame Candace Owens because she asked questions about Charlie Kirk's death. It doesn't make any sense logically, but they're going to do it. Continuing. We're not done. One more point, I think. So then the announcement of a live stream. I already told you about this. So he said TPUSA is going to host a special live stream in the coming days to directly confront Candace Owens and her claims, going through every single one of Candace's claims point by point with receipts. Again, I already told you how I'm very dubious of what they consider to be a receipt and why they got to bring a whole bunch of people together to go through receipts. Again, if I got receipts, I could just read them. He could have did that in this statement that was written by his lawyer. Why you got your lawyer writing out receipts? Lawyers don't write receipts. Lawyers send bills, first of all. They don't write receipts. And secondly, what lawyers do is they language things to protect the organization that they are contracted to work for. That's what they do. They don't just give receipts. Because if you just give them receipts, you just tell the truth. If you ask me to give receipts of something that I've done, I don't need a prepared statement. I don't need to talk to a lawyer. I just answer the question. If I got the receipt, if I believe I'm telling the truth. Now, if I'm lying, then I might need some time to put my words together. But if I'm telling you the truth, I don't need time to get together. Just ask me a question, I'll answer it. That's how the truth works. The truth does not need time to prepare. That's the quote of the day right there. The truth is not a prepared statement, TPUSA. The truth is not a prepared statement, Blake Neff. The truth is not a prepared statement, lawyers for TPUSA. The truth does not need 10 days to get ready for a live stream, and it doesn't need 10 people all together. Maybe it's not 10, maybe it's 5. The truth doesn't need a group of people. The truth doesn't need anybody with it. The truth walks in a room by itself and it walks out the room by itself. The same way when you're telling the truth. So TPUSA needs a week and a half to prepare for a live stream that has to happen on their terms so they can tell us the truth. Again, y'all tell me how that sounds. TPUSA, this don't smell right. This doesn't pass the smell test. Already, I'm telling y'all this right now. Candace hasn't even responded yet. This already doesn't pass the smell test. And I already told you what's going to happen. I already told y'all what's going to happen. Number one, this is set up in such a way that is designed to make Candace say no and not do it on their terms. Number two, they're going to say, because you didn't do the live stream that we offered you, that means you're a coward and you're scared and you don't want to address the points. Number three, they're going to do the live stream anyway, and they're going to bash Candace without her there to defend herself because they'll refuse to do it through an actual live stream on the internet because they said you have to come to our studio in person to do it and it has to be on this day on our terms. They're setting it up so she says no, and then they're going to bash her anyway when she's not there. And then number four, because she didn't show up and have that conversation, they couldn't bully her behind the scenes, off camera, then they're going to file a lawsuit. They're going to sue her for defamation. Guaranteed all four of these things are going to happen. Pay attention. The only way none of these happen is if Candace surprises me and she actually flies to Phoenix on their terms to do this event. I don't think that's going to happen. But we'll find out today. Because Candace is going to put out her show. I'm sure she's going to post something on social media about this. I hope I'm wrong. This will actually be interesting if she does the live stream in Phoenix with them. As long as they do it, as long as there's no funny business. As long as there's no funny business. I'm dubious of a woman who has a 4-person team going into the lion's den of a bunch of men who are already mad at her because she's been bashing them by name for months in their building, in their place. I'm dubious of just that setup. Even if I didn't know who Candace was, I didn't know TPUSA, well, I'm like, that don't sound right. I wouldn't send a woman to go do that. If I'm Candace Owens' husband, I'm not sending her to Phoenix to go do that unless I'm coming and I'm bringing my security staff with me. I wouldn't send her to do that though. It just don't even sound right. How as a man you're going to send your wife to go into the lion's den, a bunch of men she's been bashing for months in their place to have a conversation with a bunch of them? They already said there's a bunch of their friends and they're inviting one person. That don't make no sense. Now, if there's a bunch of women inviting a man, okay, that one I'm fine with. But a bunch of men inviting a woman? No. This don't smell right, TPUSA. Y'all got to change it. These terms just don't smell right. And I think Candace is too smart to even go for this. I don't think she accepts. Or she offers a modified situation. And then TPUSA is going to say, no, you got to do it on our terms or don't do it at all. And boom, it's over. This could be settled within 24 hours. And that'll be disappointing on one hand, but at the same time, I understand on Candace's side. So continuing, we're not finished. They're going to host a special live stream. Then he says, if Candace is available, we would sincerely welcome her participation in that live stream at our studio here in Phoenix. I already told you all about this. They would sincerely welcome her participation in that live stream. First of all, the only reason that live stream is happening is because of Candace Owens. So what do you mean you sincerely welcome her participation? Only reason you're doing it is because of her, which means if she ain't there shouldn't be a live stream. As far as I'm concerned, Blake, TPUSA, and your lawyers. Why are you doing a live stream about Candace Owens without having Candace Owens? Candace Owens says, I can't be there, but I'll join via satellite. Let's do it. Do it via satellite. We all got the internet. Why does it have to be in their building? And again, I think Candace is smart enough to address all these things. So we'll see. We'll see what she says. He says it would be me and a group of Charlie's friends. Again, Blake Neff, how do you sound as a man? You're the producer of Charlie Kirk's podcast. You as a man feel like you and your organization have been being bashed for months by a woman. You gather a bunch of other men, friends of yours, I'm assuming, because you wouldn't invite them if you didn't like them. Friends of yours to all gang up against a woman. And then you tell the woman she got to come to your place in order to have the conversation on your terms. How do you sound as a man even participating in it? The other men, whoever these friends of Charlie Kirk are, I hope they announce who they are. I actually hope Candace strings this out a little bit and doesn't give an answer immediately. And I hope she strings this out so that we can find out who are these other men who would show up to this event. Because I want to know who they are. I want to know who the friends of Charlie Kirk are who would show up to this event knowing that it's set up in this way. I just want to know who they are. Because as a man, this just don't sound right to me. Even if I was one of Charlie Kirk's friends, I would say to Blake, like, okay, Candace has been bashing us, all of us, but let's make it fair. Like, let's have a fair fight. If I believe we're telling the truth, I say let's have a fair fight. Like, y'all got to remember who you're talking to. Like, I come from the professional sports world. In the sports world, you can't duck and dodge opponents. You got to have a fair fight under fair rules. Everybody's playing by the same rules with the same ball on the same surface, and you got to prove it. You can't set it up in your favor one way or another. The only difference is there's a home game and a road game. But other than that, the rules are exactly the same. The court is the same court. The ball is the same ball. The basket's the same height. The field is the same distance. I would say if I'm one of Charlie Kirk's friends, even one of the people Candace has been bashing, if I'm one of the people Candace has been bashing, first of all, I'm not waiting for Blake Neff. I'm not waiting for, wait a minute, let me pull this back up because I want y'all to see who I'm talking about. If I am one of Charlie Kirk's friends, if I'm one of the people that Candace Owens has been bashing, okay, I'm not waiting for this guy with the glasses to tell me that it's okay to address Candace Owens. I would have been addressed Candace Owens like 2 months ago. I'm not waiting for this guy to tell me it's go time on Candace Owens. It would have been go time on Candace Owens as soon as he said my fucking name. The very next day, I would have been out like, Candace, hey, here's what I got to say to you. If you disagree with this, let's get on the live right here on X so everybody can see it. You can host it. You host it on your account. And let's have a conversation. Just don't mute me. My only rule is don't hit the mute button on me. Let's have a conversation. Let's do it. As soon as you say my name, we having that conversation. I'm not waiting until this dude tells me I could talk. So they all got to gather in the studio to tell Candace Owens what they think. Why don't you just say it from your phone? They all got phones, right? They all got internet access. They all got Wi-Fi. Why we got to do it on December 15th? This sounds like a setup, first of all. It sounds like a lie, second of all. And I don't think Candace Owens is dumb enough to fall for this. That's the problem I got with this. That's why I don't think this is going to happen. But again, I hope I'm wrong. Okay, everybody heard me. I hope I'm wrong. Now, he says it'll be me and a group of Charlie's friends, no moderators, no pre-approved questions, which means nothing. How you need moderators when there's 5 of y'all and 1 of her? Well, you don't need a moderator. Y'all running the whole situation. So him saying no moderators means nothing. Candace is the one who might want a moderator because she's going to be there by herself against who knows how many people from TPUSA. He didn't even say who. He didn't say how many. He said no pre-approved questions. Okay, or there's no moderator. So how are you going to have pre-approved questions? Just an open discussion to address things that Candace has been saying. Again, how is it an open discussion when there's multiple people on your side and 1 person on their side? It's like the TV show Shark Tank. All right, it's 5 of them sitting up there and there's 1 of you. All right, just facing the firing squad. Now, he frames this as an olive branch. He says the ball is now in her court. Again, this is all framing. The ball is in her court. So in other words, we are giving Candace Owens an opportunity. And if she doesn't take this opportunity, that means she's the one who dropped the ball and we did everything that we could. This is the frame that they're building around this whole situation. Y'all are noticing this. Now, he emphasizes that this is authentic. He suggests it could raise live funds if desired and ties it back to Charlie Kirk's fighter spirit. I say this is all nonsense. Yeah, they will raise funds for it. If Candace Owens shows up, this will make a ton of money. So it will make money if she shows up. Money will be made. That one I agree with. And he says it ties back to Charlie Kirk's fighter spirit. I say nonsense. I disagree. I don't think this ties to a fighter spirit. That somebody got to bash you for 90 days before you say something and now all of a sudden you're a fighter? I don't think so. I think they could have came out the week after. As soon as Candace started asking questions, they could have started addressing her. If you're really a fighter, you fight right there. You're not wait 90 days. So you got to wait 90 days, gather up a bunch of men to go against a woman after 3 months. That's a fighter? I don't think so. I don't think Charlie Kirk would agree with that. What y'all think? I don't think so. I don't think a group of men needs to gather up to go against a woman after 90 days of getting attacked by the woman and then call themselves fighters. That don't sound right to me. Now, maybe they know Charlie Kirk better than I did, or they know more about Charlie Kirk's fighter spirit. Whatever they consider to be a fighter spirit is actually, they did know Charlie better than I did. I don't know Charlie Kirk. Didn't know Charlie Kirk. But to call this a fighter spirit is disingenuous. So let's see. Last thing. Candace Owens said, again, on her podcast, I accept. And then she said, you can pick the place, you can pick the time. I say we do it tomorrow. We don't need to plan for this. I want it to be authentic. Now, is she actually going to travel to the studio? What do y'all think? Give me a yes or no. What do y'all think? Y'all think Candace Owens is going to Phoenix? I think she wants to do the live stream. I don't know if she's going to Phoenix, though. That's the problem. What do y'all think? Give me a yes or no. Is Candace Owens going to Phoenix? Yes or no? Y'all think she's going to travel to Phoenix and do this event? I hope she does. But it doesn't sound, I don't know. It just didn't sound right the way it was laid out. So I'm getting about 50% here. I'm getting yeses and nos. December 15th, at least it gives her time to plan. I mean, she has a family to take care of. So I hope she does. If they do it right. If they do it right and everything's on the up and up. Now, again, Candace Owens did just say that TPUSA might have known that Charlie was getting assassinated and let it happen. So, again, after she said that, would she go to their studios? I don't know. Again, if she shows up with her, she got a team with her, a security team, a serious security team, then okay, then I feel fine for her. I like Candace Owens the show. I like Candace. I don't want her walking into something that she shouldn't be walking into. Now, being that she claimed that the Macrones just tried to get her assassinated and she took a whole week off, I'm assuming Candace is no dummy when it comes to operational security. So I'm guessing she got her shit together. She's going to Phoenix. That's what I'm guessing. Lisa said Charlie baited get one against thousands, so why not Candace? Why? Because everything I just told you over the last hour and last 103 minutes is why. Why it's not the same thing. That's a false equivalence what you just did there. All that said, folks, let's have discussion. I need to take a restroom break. I usually take my restroom break at 9 o'clock. It's 9:45. Let me take a restroom break. We will go overtime here today so I can answer your questions, but I must take a restroom break. This is a long time without the restroom.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
90 seconds, folks. Be right back. All right, let's get to it, everybody. I'm reading the comments from the oldest to the newest, the ones that I can actually see. There are probably more comments here that I could not see because TikTok clips the comments when it gets to be so many. So nothing personal if I missed your comment. Post it again one time. Don't spam my comments. Do not troll my comments. Let's get into it. Let's see what we got over on YouTube. We got a few comments here. YouTube is kind of active today. Ice Princess says 2025 says she should do it through the internet. She and her place and they and theirs. Yes, I agree. But the way they worded it is look like they're trying to set the terms in such a way to make it easy for her to say no. Ice Princess said Erica should be there. Well, Erica's not really one of the people who was named by Candace Owens. If she's there, they're going to use her for emotion, not for actual logic or substance. She has nothing to do with it. Michigan said first they said she was his friends, then she is a troll. Yeah, exactly, which doesn't make any sense. Maggie from South Texas, good morning. TBX says protect Candace at all costs. Michigan says she will show up. I hope she does as long as she has proper operational security. Again, I don't think she's dumb. Michigan said if she doesn't show up because she definitely wants them to sue her to force them to show evidence in CK assassination, that could be her grand strategy. That might be. I think they're going to sue her either way. I think she might get sued either way. That's the reason they got lawyers writing. Why they got a lawyer writing a statement about what Candace Owens has said about TPUSA? Why would a lawyer write that statement? I think they're setting up to sue her no matter what she does. EC said we love Candace. Malachi Iron Man, Malachi Roman said I stand with Candace. EC said also Trump isn't real America first. Most of us agree with Nick. I can't say that guy's name. Mass deportation he is delivering. EC said watch the wealthy squirm as communism destroys America. I hope not. Hope that doesn't happen. Rightly Divide said the truth is not a prepared statement. That is correct. Malachi said Candace Owens won't lie to me. I agree with that. Miss Joey said Doe showed us how corrupt nonprofits are, so I'm not shocked. Fair enough. They always been corrupt. Michigan says she has not responded line by line like you were doing. It was very. Oh, she has responded line by line. Yeah, she did. She just didn't call it the logical fallacies. She doesn't go into as much detail as I do. I think she tries to keep her show tighter than I keep mine. Miss Joey said they can pass you a fast-acting cancer just by touching you. Michigan says she expected and said, let's do it tomorrow. Accepted. Yeah, she accepted, meaning I think she was talking about the internet. I don't think she was talking about I'm going to fly to Phoenix. That's the trick right there. She said yes, and they said yes, but they're saying yes to two different things. Ms. Joey said the meeting on 12:15 reduces to 3-6. In other words, 6 the same game. Okay. Hope not. Malachi said TPUSA will not sit with Candace, neither will the first man in France. Well, they're claiming that they will. So we'll see. Michigan says she needs to take Tucker and Megan. Megan's not getting involved, but Tucker might get involved. I can see Tucker getting involved. I don't think Megyn Kelly's involved. Megyn Kelly says she doesn't listen to the stuff that Candace Owens posts. So we'll see. Let's see what we got here. Katie. I think I caught the back end of what you said. Katie said TP's arguments were so weak. Well, they have a lot of people convinced because a lot of people don't like Candace already. Queen Pentator said Candace is the only one in CK's circle who actually cares. Well, that's what she's saying. And a lot agree with you and a lot disagree with you. Katie says it's going to be a big nothing burger on TP's side. Again, to some people, I agree. Lizanne said TP should sue. They're going to sue. Amy Lynn said his security let him down also by not making sure the rooftop access were covered. Well, yeah, they did. He was paying a lot for security. So if you got paid security, that kind of thing shouldn't happen. Now, if you're just there and your security is just a bunch of dudes standing around, that's a different story. But Charlie Kirk allegedly had a serious type of security team, like people he paid a lot of money for. And if that's true, and Candace has said it's true, I would assume that it's true. They did mess up. They dropped the ball that day. Echo says all distraction to keep people looking into the truth. Well, the issue is we don't know what the truth is yet. Again, the only person who's looking, or it appears is looking, is Candace Owens. So that's the reason why I like what she's doing, because she is looking for the truth. Now, people may not like how she's going about it, but it looks like she's trying. If some people say she's not trying, she's just grifting. I don't think so. Natalie Bledsoe, thanks for the follow. Heather, the written pieces, good morning. Echo said 273 people in here. We should be over 100K tap peeps. Yes, I agree. Yes, tap the screen, folks. We are now at 125.5K. So please keep tapping the screen, folks. It gets to 150 at least today. Dwayne Mitchell, good morning. DLE, thank you for the follow. Eagle U Pacers, Pacries, Eagle Up Acres. Thanks for the follow. Andrea Levitt, member level number 10. Congrats. Leather and Pearls, I was on the FYP today. Keep on living said, do I like strawberry cheesecake? I used to back in the day, but these days I don't really like cake. I don't eat that kind of cake. So what kind of cakes would I like? I like pound cake, maybe carrot cake. But I don't really eat cakes and pies, and I don't eat this stuff. Silver Lass said, do you think Candace should agree to a live virtual debate? I don't think she should go to Phoenix. Yeah, I think she already agreed to a live virtual debate. Again, on her show, she said, I accept, let's do it. But I think she was talking the internet. I'll be at my house, y'all be at y'all place, and we'll do it on the internet. They said, you have to come to Phoenix. That's where I think the disconnect is. And that disconnect is enough to make this never happen. Katie said the planes are creepy. Yeah, it seems like it. Keep on living life said, really smart people watching. Haha. Leah said, more confusing. Echo said, and not the eye country. Yeah, they're not really the topic here today. The horror tree stories. Thanks for the follow. Alyssa said, I feel like it's a setup. Yeah, well, I don't think Candace is dumb enough to fall for it. I hope TPUSA wouldn't do that. Stephanie, thanks for the follow. Echo said, I had to drive now. Yes, tap the screen, folks. We're at 129K. Still a fan. For you to say she said that in so many words doesn't make sense. What did I say? Kimmy said, what do you keep going on about? Today's topic is what I'm going on about. User said, she said she'd be there. I don't think she was saying the same thing they were saying. Did she say, I'm going to Phoenix on a plane to go to the Charlie Kirk studio? I think she said, I'll do it. Let's do it. Again, I think she was referring to the internet, and they were referring to the studio. Again, this is the disconnect, folks. Marilyn G, thanks for the follow. Difference Maker said, does she have enough evidence? Enough evidence for what? She's not the police. What she need evidence for? She's not actually trying to prove anything. She's trying to investigate. I don't think there's anything she needs to prove. There's no burden of proof on her, technically. So when she goes there and let's say they have the conversation, they're going to say, well, you lied about this, this, and this. And she's going to say, no, I said this. They're going to say, no, you said that. And then it'll just be an argument over semantics. But I think Candace Owens wins an argument over semantics. She's pretty good with semantics. So again, I don't know why TPUSA would even set themselves up for this. They're going to look bad if there's a bunch of men trying to argue against a woman in this setting that they claim to want to set up. I don't think it looks good for them no matter what happens. Kimmy said, I hope your kids can grow to be amazing, intelligent individuals. May they follow after you. Well, thank you, Kimmy. Katie said, I've listened to all of her stuff. She's the only one making sense. Okay. We'll see. Jenna said, hope she is safe. It doesn't sound like a safe place to be. On the surface, it doesn't. But again, I hope they're not that crazy, because if she shows up there and then her body turns up, then that's going to look real crazy. So Clay Gray, I don't think it's so much they would actually physically do anything to her. I think they want to have a conversation and let her know, like, yo, we need you to calm down and stop saying this shit because you making us look bad and costing us money. I think that's the real problem they got. I don't think they would actually physically hurt her. Big Block says, so like a typical Republican playbook. I don't know what you're referring to, but all of them are Republicans. So I don't know what are you saying here. Katie says, she reports, you decide. Free speech and freedom of the press. That is correct. Andrea, member level 11. Congrats. KB said, you unfollowed Tim Pool. I think you should follow him back and listen to what he says, because it will show you what's happening. You got to know what's happening on every side of the conversation. It's a famous speaker back in the day by the name of Zig Ziglar. He said, every day I read a little bit of the Bible and a little bit of the newspaper, so I know what both sides are up to. Andrea Levitt, congrats. Thanks for the gifts. The Level Up Sparks, Go Popular, Lightning Bolt, and the Heart Me. Karina said, Team Candace. Marilyn G said, those are the same people who were mad when they were doing that to Charlie Kirk's words. Yes, exactly. That's 100% correct. And this is what people do when they disagree. They straw man what you say. Isher Woody said, I hope she realizes the setup. She's already asked the question so they can answer them and have a follow-up by satellite. Yeah, I think the setup is not that they would, again, I don't think they would physically hurt her. What I think they want to do is have a conversation with her off camera where they say, the stuff that you are saying and the question that you are asking are costing us money and hurting our organization. There's like 50 people who work here. You're destroying all of us, and we need you to calm that shit down. That's what they really want to do, and have that conversation with her in person, not through the internet, because if it's through the internet, then it can be tracked and recorded like an email. But if they have it in person, she can say that they said it. They can say they didn't say it, and that's all you got. That's what they really want to do. Again, I don't think they're going to beat her up. Michelle said she's not trying. She's tried to destroy Charlie's legacy. She's not a friend at all. She's spilling lies. This is what happens when you open the doors to the enemy and his demons. Well, Michelle, that sounds good. But if all she's doing is spilling lies, then you would have to explain how millions of people are all being deceived all at the same time. Now, again, if she was telling lies and there was like 8 people listening to her, that would make sense. But if you think she's telling lies, she's been telling lies for 3 months, and her audience just gets bigger and bigger, then that means that millions of people are so stupid as to believe her lies. I don't think millions of people are stupid. Now, there could be a handful of people who are dumb, but everybody can't be dumb. This is the same frame people use when Donald Trump won the election. They say, oh, well, only the uneducated people voted for Donald Trump. Okay, well, if that's the case, then why didn't the educated people school the uneducated before the election to not vote for Donald Trump? The only logical conclusion to it is that the people who are saying that have TDS and are using emotions to substitute for logic because they're upset about Trump winning. So they had to come up with some type of ad hominem negative thing to put on the people who voted for Trump, other than just saying, hey, a bunch of people chose Trump. And some of them are just as smart, if not smarter than I am. Why did they choose him? That would require you to look at your own thinking and ask yourself, why, going back to Candace Owens, why is Candace Owens' audience keep getting bigger? Maybe there's something useful in here. Maybe there's some logic in here. Maybe there's something here that makes sense. That would require you challenging your own thinking as opposed to the easy way out, the convenient answer, which is anybody who doesn't think the way that I think must be stupid, dumb, and they're easily misled by nonsense, and I'm just too smart to fall for it. That sounds really good when you're talking about yourself, but is it possible that you could be wrong? That's the question you should ask yourself. That's what any critical thinker always asks themselves. Is it possible that I'm wrong? And looking at the situation, a bunch of people dislike Candace and they trash her, and a bunch of people like Candace and they're listening to her. Maybe I should listen to both sides of this conversation to find out what's actually going on, because the truth is usually somewhere in between the two poles. So anybody who's saying that Candace is just terrible and she's a demon and she's evil and she's just lying and she's just grifting, that sounds great. But is that actually the truth? Probably not. The truth is somewhere in between. She's terrible and she's amazing. That requires critical thought, and it also requires you to decide for yourself rather than listening to the talking heads on the internet, even if you want to include myself, who want to tell you what it is. You got to decide for yourself, which means you got to take in all the information and actually think, which is hard work for a lot of people. So I hope that addresses your point. Michigan said, first time on your channel, love it. Well, I appreciate it. Amy Lynn said, do they ever debunk her claims though? No, they can't debunk her claims because a bunch of the claims that she's making are simple questions and things that she's just putting on the table and saying, well, I found out this, I found out this, I found out this. She's not really making an assertion like this is absolutely the case. There's a few that she's made, but a lot of them are not that. So for them to debunk her claims, they would have to tell what the actual truth is. So you can't really debunk it. All you can do is challenge it with your own rhetoric, but it's not really debunking it to say, so if she says, I think people in TPUSA knew what was going to happen to Charlie and they let it happen. You can't really debunk that unless they can prove in court that shooter was the shooter. But even that can be questioned because how many of us trust the justice system? So this is similar to the 2020 electoral situation. We'll never know what actually happened. I think we'll never really know. Ms. Mama 3 said Republicans are losing midterms for no action, not because of Candace Owens. Yes, if and when the Republicans lose the midterms, it's not going to be because of Candace Owens, but she's going to get a lot of blame for it. If the midterms are right now, the Republicans will lose both sides of Congress. But things can change. Difference Maker says CK and Trump were both in the crosshairs. I hope he is trying to get to the bottom of it. I think he means she. Webster, thanks for the follow. Sill, thanks for the follow. It's Mariah said, where's Dr. Fauci anyways? Oh, Dr. Fauci is good. He retired and bought himself an island off in the Caribbean somewhere. And he got pardoned. Didn't he get pardoned? Dr. Fauci's retired. He's good. Ray Tinsley said, bro, that's a horrible comparison. What was the comparison? Katie said, if you don't follow the official narrative, you're the problem. Well, I'm gladly a problem. Oh, you're talking about the comparison I made to the virus from 5 years ago? I think it's a good comparison. Because a lot of I include myself in this group, who went against the grain. I said, why the hell would I need to stand 6 feet apart? Why am I wearing a surgical mask, which is designed to keep particles from flying out of your mouth when you're performing surgery, not blocking airborne viruses? Why would I need to wear that to get on the airplane or walk around the streets? Why I need to get this jab that has not been tested, and we don't even know if it actually prevents the virus from being gotten? Why would I do these things? And I didn't do those things. And people will talk as if you in the minority who's not doing it, you're the problem. Not true. So it's actually a great comparison. I'm not saying it's a 100% perfect parallel, but it's a good comparison because everybody knows what it is. That's the reason why I use it. Karina said, never vote liberal. Yes, we had 140,000 votes. Let's keep going to get to 150. James Dalton said the Conservative Party is already divided regardless of candidacy. Just letting them know why. Well, this is one reason why. Another reason is that country. Another reason is a lot of people just disappointed with what Donald Trump has done. Some people very happy, some people disappointed, which is normal for the president. Katie said, it ain't Candace's fault. I'm tired of political status quo and corruption. Fair enough. Doc said, no blame to Tucker Carlson and MTG. Not right now. As of today is on Candace. But again, things change. Eric, thanks for the follow. Brooke Martella, good morning. MK, thanks for the follow. Anastasia said, am I the only one glitching? Maybe. I don't know. I can't see the glitches. So sometimes when some of y'all point that out. Gina Patriot said, I don't feel like she would feel safe going there personally. I mean, I know I wouldn't. Yeah, the way it sounds, I would not feel safe going there either. So let's see what she says. Her show will be out today. Leah, thank you for the lightning bolts. Lisa says she should go. With proper security, she should go. Katie says she should take her team. Well, her team's only 4 people. TPUSA got a lot more than that. She needs to bring a security team, not her podcast people. She needs a security team. Tiffany said, I thought she already accepted yesterday. Yeah, she accepted, but again, she didn't say, I'm flying to Phoenix. I think she was referring to the internet. Ashley Mack said, there would be funny business of a super fishy with Turning Point. Lisa says, she has proof, then why be afraid? Well, she has evidence, not proof. And it's a straw man question, Lisa.
Strawberry cheesecake.
First of all, if you have proof or evidence of anything, you can share it through the internet. Isn't that what we're doing right now? We're talking on the internet. Candace Owens' show is on the internet. Charlie Kirk is on the internet. How many of you were in Utah the day he got shot? Most of you were not, or at least at the event when he got shot. Most of you were not. Us were not. But we know about it. Why? Because of the internet. So she's not afraid of anything. If anybody's afraid, it ain't Candace Owens. She's the one actually been putting herself on the line for the last 3 months. For the last year, as a matter of fact. She went at Kamala. As a black female, she went at Kamala, who was allegedly the black woman running for president. Then she went at the Macron family, who's now trying to sue her, if nothing else. Then she's talked bad about Israel. Then she talked bad about Donald Trump as a conservative. Now she's talking bad about Charlie Kirk's death and TPUSA. If anybody's afraid, it damn sure ain't Candace Owens. So, Lisa, that's a straw man question. If anybody famous, we're going to accuse of being afraid. I don't think Candace Owens is the person you can put that on right now, especially what she's done for the last year. Gina Patriot said, I don't understand why they can't just do a live broadcast. You can do it from right at home and they do. Again, Gina, you're asking a good question. Here's the reason why they don't want to do it that way, because they want to control it to make it easy for her to say no so that they can then say, well, she didn't accept it. And then they can go on and do what they want to do anyway. And then they can say, well, we've defeated and taken care of Candace Owens. We already laid everything out with that lawyer prepared statement. Now here comes a defamation lawsuit. This is all set up. Duke's mom said, I had so much respect for Candace and I really like her, but on the CK issue, I disagree with her. Fair enough. What exactly do you disagree with? That's the question, because she said a lot of things. Tiffany, thank you for the follow. Rick Thomas, thanks for the repost. Lisa said, it's not like they would get physical, please. Well, I mean, Charlie Kirk did just die. Donald Trump did get a bullet shot past his head. Candace Owens did just say that she thinks the French government has put money on her head. And Candace Owens has also said that people at TPUSA knew something was going to happen to Charlie and they let it happen anyway. So Lisa, it sounds good to say that anonymously through the internet. It's a whole different thing when you're the one with yourself in the crosshairs and you've seen what happened to people who you are close to, whose hands you shook, happened to them. And now you think it's about to happen to you. And then somebody say, well, we're not going to get physical. That sounds crazy. Yeah, it sounds good from your vantage point, Lisa. Not so much when you're the person who's being talked about. Black Diamond says, sounds like a setup. Don't do it. Live Free said, Dre, bottom line is never go to another person's house for a fight. I generally agree with that. You're right about that. Christy Ebster said, need a fair fight one-on-one, not an ambush. Well, the reason it can't be one-on-one is because Candace she has asserted things against several people. So what they should do is through the internet, because everybody can talk through the internet and everybody can say what they want to say. I think they should just do it online and let everybody say what they want to say. Because Candace has talked about many people. So let's say it's 6 or 7 people on one side. That's fine as long as it's on the internet, but they also got to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak. Lisa said, yes, she bashed them, so bring the proof, Candace. Candace has already brought the proof. She's done 90 days worth of shows. If you listen to them, then you've heard what she said. And again, she's brought evidence, not proof. You're conflating those two different words. Proof means something absolutely happened and I can prove it happened. Evidence is this is leading towards something may have happened and here's something that would contribute to what happened. Evidence is something that leads to proof, but they're not the same thing. Live Free said, Dre, you're from Philly, I'm from Chicago. We know a hit when we hear one. Yeah, well, these guys are not from Philly or Chicago. So that's also why we got to take that into consideration. But Candace, as a female, and she's bashed a bunch of men, again, just on the surface, it don't sound right. Karina says she needs to bring more people. Again, if she goes, she'll bring people. Candace is no dummy. Again, what is she talking about here? Charlie Kirk getting shot and him not having proper security. So if she goes, she'll have proper security. Heck says she's the one making allegations. She needs to defend them. Well, she has defended them. But heck, she has. She does a show 5 days a week for the last 3 months. Have y'all not been listening? Everything she said, she's defended. Everything that Mr. Blake Neff said in that video, I just told you that there's a bunch of logical fallacies. He didn't say anything that was objectively, logically accurate in going against anything that she said. So they, defending themselves against her allegations, have failed because everything he said in that statement was logically fallacious. Every single thing. And I pointed out I went through it all in detail. So if I got anything wrong, somebody let me know. And she's already defended it by putting it out there in the first place. And she defended herself against the fallacious statement that he made in her episode that she put out yesterday. Did y'all listen to it? Lisa said, I disagree with you. Yeah, I know. Rick Thomas says, a setup for Candace for sure. Chrissy L, thanks for the follow. Annie Lynn said he would have went one-on-one and debunked claim after claim without personal attacks. Yes, that is how Charlie rolled. Lisa said, there's an investigation going on. Why would they jeopardize that? Who's they? Who are you talking about? Scott Young said, Candace can make a counter offer on level playing field, which is what I hope she does. I don't think TPUSA would accept any offer coming from her. They would say our way or the highway. And again, I think they're doing this on purpose. This is all a setup. The real thing for them, they don't care about proving Candace Owens wrong. I don't think they really care. I think they care on some level because she has a lot of fans. But I think ultimately what they want to do is sue Candace Owens. And if they beat her in a defamation lawsuit, or they bankrupt her in a defamation lawsuit, that's much more of a win than quote unquote proving a point on the internet. Who the hell cares about that? They want that money, or they want to shut her up, or they want to prove that they took her out financially. Same thing the Macrones want to do. Queen said, it's hard to tell because Candace Owens doesn't appear to be afraid of anyone. No, well, nobody can say that she's afraid. Again, if she was afraid, there's a lot of things she wouldn't have said over the last year. Katie said, I hope she doesn't for her safety. If she goes, she'll have plenty of security. Anastasia said, well, make her look stronger and then weaker. Yes, if she shows up, it'll make them all look weak. Whoever shows up on their side is going to look really weak if they show up to that, to go against her. I forgot to said, I wish they would do it now and give her more say on the terms. If not, then no. XTR said, I think she should set a location and date of her own. I think they should do it online. It shouldn't be physically in person with a woman and a bunch of men. That's a disadvantage to the woman, and it makes the men look weak. Even if I was on the side of the TPUSA guys, I would say y'all should do this online, because y'all telling all 4 or 5 or 10 of you telling a woman to come into the room so y'all can argue with her about things she said about y'all. I'm not feeling it. And if any of them had something to say, they could have already said it. What are they waiting for? Trinidad Santiago, thanks for the follow. Marky Mark said, I can tell you feel strongly about this from an intelligent point of view. I have many questions. Well, I feel strongly about every topic that I talk about. That's why I talk about them. From an intelligence point of view, okay, what are your questions? Pepper said, where's your little co-host? Haven't seen or heard him today. He doesn't always come in. He's a what do we call it? He makes special guest appearances. He's not the co-host. I have no co-host. T Rose said, maybe she takes Brandon Tatum. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, take Brandon Tatum. He was a cop, right? Marwa said, can Candace Owens afford all these lawsuits? Well, she only has one lawsuit right now, and looks like so far it's going. Miss B. Rex said, the Republicans lose is because of Erica intimate hug to Vance. It was disgusting. Miss B, I don't know about that. Pro Organized said, I wouldn't trust going into the Lions Den, but sounds like she was considering it. Yeah, I think she considers it. We'll see if she does it. Ashley Mack said, will we ever know the truth? Depends about what. Heck said, Candace is not making sense like she used to. She seems to be reaching for intrigue. Well, that's what some people said. I think about half the people think that, and half the people think the other thing. Fair enough. Lisa said, Charlie was all about conversation, so that's what TPUSA wants. Well, Lisa, that's not true. TPUSA has been quiet for ever since Charlie Kirk died. So if they wanted conversation, they could have been talking, because everybody's been talking about Charlie Kirk's death since Charlie Kirk died. They haven't said anything until yesterday. So if they're all about conversation, what have they been doing for the last 3 months? Beth said, what time is her show? Beth, that's something for you to Google. And I don't watch it live. I usually listen to it the day after it comes out. Melly said they should have it at a neutral site. Yeah, the internet is a neutral site. Beth said, you are so smart. This is needed to be said. Thank you. Amy said, we've been repeatedly lied to by our government, so can't blame us for always questioning them. Yes, most people don't question them. Deb says, central casting, you're watching a movie. Yes, we are. T Rose said, I just did 3,000 likes. Thank you, T Rose. T Rose says she should take Brandon Tatum. Yeah, he'd be a good person to go. I think some people are going to jump into the conversation and say, all right, if that's going to happen, I want to go there too. So Brandon Tatum would be perfect. Difference Maker said Fauci was pardoned. Yeah, that's what I thought. Ashley Mack said Dr. F may be held accountable since auto pen signatures may be thrown out. Yeah, we'll see. That would be a big story. If that happens, I'll be doing a live on that. I don't know if that's going to happen, though. Amy, thank you for the follow. Leather and Pearl said, let's show up and tap out the 200K. Yes, let's get 200K, folks. We're at 163. Birdie, good morning. Pretty Girls, thanks for the follow. Let's see. Katie said, she needs her team on the stream with 5 on their side plus security. Well, Candace should do all the talking. I don't want to hear anybody on Candace's team talk. I want to hear Candace talk. Difference Maker asked, I think Iran is behind it. Well, that wasn't mentioned today, so I don't think so. Carla, congrats on coming back. Jay Rocket said, do you think there's something particular she's trying to accomplish beyond just journalism? Well, she does have a show. Candace Owens does have a show. So she picks a topic and she talks about it. And the topic right now is the death of Charlie Kirk. That's the topic that she decided to chase down. So she has a show. She has a platform. She has an audience who's expecting her to deliver something. So she has to pick a topic. So the same way that I do this stream every day, I got to pick a topic and talk about it. She picked a topic, and that's the one she chose to talk about. So her accomplish is, I'm Candace Owens, and my audience expects something from Candace Owens. I have to deliver. So that is what she has accomplish continuing to deliver on her show. Jennifer said, TP said, this is on YouTube, says they'll do it in the near future, while Candace says, let's do it tomorrow. Seems like TPUSA needs time to get their lives straight. Yeah, which is what I said earlier in this live stream. Why do they need 10 days to get ready for telling the truth? Strong ballerina said her security team should look beyond moral overt attacks. Harmful and difficult to detect substance can be added to food, water, or something she touches. Yeah, which would be crazy. If that happens, then TPUSA is going to be looking real crazy. CK Michigan said CK had a massive security team and he still got killed. So I agree with you, Dre. She should represent herself through the internet. Yes. I generally don't like the idea of her going there. I don't like the idea of them inviting her there. I don't like the invitation more than I don't like her going. Ashley said they can hire you to moderate. Yeah, but they said they won't have moderators. They want to control the whole situation. That's the whole point. That's the reason why they won't have a moderator, because they want to control everything. J. Rocket says she's putting herself at great risk and a lot of money in legal expenses. Well, this is the reason why people don't say things that they believe to be true. It's one of the main reasons people don't say shit is because they see something they believe to be true, but they know if they say something, they can either lose their job or get sued. And since most people don't want to lose their jobs or get sued, they stay quiet. And this is how bullshit is able to perpetuate. So this is the reason why, J. Rocker, what you're saying, I agree with you. This is the reason why we need to appreciate the Candace Owenses of the world, even if you disagree with them, because they're willing to say the things that other people are afraid to say because they're afraid of what they might lose in the process. She's throwing caution to the wind and saying these things, and now other people feel more empowered to say stuff. If everybody was saying it, they can't sue everybody. See, if there's only one person saying it, they can sue one person. This is the whole issue with the virus 5 years ago. If there's only a handful of people saying it, they can fire a handful of people. You can kick a handful of people off the plane. You can't kick the whole plane off the plane. Then you don't have a flight. And you got to give everybody their money back. Now you got to change the rules. That's the whole point. And which is why we need to support the people who come out and actually challenge the status quo, even if you think they're wrong. Support the fact that they're challenging it and support them by just listening to what they're saying. Because they're going to say something that might make some sense to you. But if everybody stands on the sideline and just watches them get made an example of, well, what did we gain? The answer is we gained nothing. T. Rose said, I'm from Philly. Shout out to everybody from Philly. Where in Philly are you from, T. Rose? I'm from Uptown. Mount Airy. Mountain Granny, thanks for the follow. Amy Lynn, thank you for the lightning bolts. Mary Ann, thank you for the share. Amy Lynn, lightning bolt, thank you. Carlos said, all conservatives engaging in the public should have security, trained security. Interesting. You might be right. Beth Jen said, how would Cash Patel agree so much with this evidence that came out? I don't know what he thinks. So he's with the FBI, so they don't have to talk. Carlos said, Erica is the TPUSA CEO, so all the interaction had to have been approved by her. Fair point. That's a good point. Beth said, do I trust Cash Patel in this investigation? I don't know. I don't have anything to go off of with him. The FBI doesn't have to tell you what they're doing. So I have nothing to go off of with that guy. Carlos said, I think Erica was planning to show up. I think she would show up. I mean, if it's at their studio and it's before an event that they're doing, so she'll probably be around. Carlos said, the 3-finger tap works. Okay, so this is a new thing that we learned, folks, that if you tap the screen with 3 fingers, then it counts as 3 taps. That's what I'm hearing from people. If you tap the screen with 3 fingers at the same time, it counts as 3 taps instead of 1 tap. So tap the screen with 3 fingers. That's what I've heard a few people say this now. Anastasia, congrats on the gifted badge. Tina said, had to step away and back. Glad you're back. Carlos said, or have their TikTok account bananaed. What does that mean? T. Rose said, North Philly. I'll shout to North Philly. Carlos said, any thoughts on doing a show about the Somali thing in Minnesota? I might get to it since people keep asking me about it. I might get to that. T. Rose said, Kingston, Fishtown, Port Richmond, I named all 3 areas that most may know. I think most people know North Philly. I think North Philly is more known in those 3 areas, especially if you're not from Philadelphia. Tina said, shuffle the 3 fingers. What does that mean? Barb said, I tried the 3-finger tap and it didn't work. Then T. Rose said, well, that's what I've been doing is 3 fingers. Okay, so now we have some controversy about the 3-finger tap. I don't know if it works or not. I have never tried it. But some are saying the 3-finger tap. So I'm going to get some information on this Somali thing. I'm going to ask Grok and just get some background. If it looks interesting enough, then I may get to it either this week, tomorrow. We only got one more day this week, maybe next week. Give me some details and information on the situation that happened in Minnesota with the fraud with Somalians who are in the state. So I'll see what I can find out about that. I might get to that because a few of you have asked me about it. So we'll see. So Nathan said it's a no-go on the 3-finger tap. Monica said can't do it. Heck said don't tap them at the same time like you're playing the piano. Oh, so it's one at a time. So you tap it 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you tap it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So like that. Birdie said 3-finger tap works, so you have to rotate the fingers. Okay, so 3-finger tap doesn't mean 3 at the same time, folks. What it means is use 3 fingers, but tap it as if you're typing on a keyboard. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now we're getting to the bottom of this, folks. See, we figure things out over here. 3-finger tap means alternating 3 fingers, not 3 fingers all at once. See how these details matter, folks? The way you explain things matters. So let's see. The chill librarian, the shy librarian, says, if anything, I do believe they overplayed their hand. The CK killing exposed a lot more than they realized. If they had a plan behind that. Now, if it just randomly happened, that's a different story. Deborah says she will live stream, which she should do. I think she'll be more comfortable live streaming. I want everybody to be comfortable so everybody can say what they really want to say. Christy Bennett says Southwest in the house. Shout out to Southwest Philly. Strong Ballerina said it'll be more interesting to see him in a debate than as a moderator. I will buy a ticket to that event. Are you talking about me or are you talking about Brandon Tatum? So Liz said it doesn't work. Barb said it still doesn't work. Rico Lee said no, had to double tap. Okay, so we don't know here, folks. Marky Man said don't mention, no, we don't want any auto anything. Katarina said I always use a 3-finger tap. Okay, so now we have a controversy here when it comes to tapping the screen. Can you use 3 fingers at once, or is it 3 fingers alternating, or does it not work at all anyway? Carla said, my bad, alternating 3-finger tap does work. T-Rose said, look at the amount of likes I did in less than 10 minutes. That's 3 fingers, LOL. I don't think I can see how many you did. It doesn't give me a time frame. We're almost out of battery here, folks. We're going to wrap this up in a minute. Tina said, double tap the screen first with 1 finger, then start playing the piano. Okay, so now we got another technique. So Tina says, double tap first with 1 finger, and then you start doing it, and then it works. G Black said double tapping is easier for him. Monica said it works if you get it going the right way. Well, see, Monica, that's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out what the right way is. What is the right way? So somebody has to come to a conclusion here. I don't think we know. Rika said the tapping controversy. Yeah, that's what this is. We don't know that. So Tina says you got to do the double tap with 1 finger to start it. So you start it with the double tap, then you start doing it. I said, y'all try that. Start it with the double tap, then you start playing the piano, and then it works. Allegedly. Katarina said alternate. Christine said I can't even use 4 fingers. I'm talented. Okay, so those of you who know how to type on the keyboard, maybe you can use all 5, including your thumbs. Pepper said tell them to post a video of their 3-finger tap. Yeah, some of y'all might have to post a video of yourself doing this. Anastasia said what Tina said. Blush California said, oh, it does work after you get it going. Okay, so then Katarina said start tapping with 1, then add the other fingers. Then Liz said it doesn't work. Carla said it's correct. Elena said doing the piano. Barb said I had to play around with it, but I figured it out. Okay, so is this figure outable that you can tap the screen with multiple fingers? All right, let's get to 200K likes. Either way, we're at 195,000 folks. Then we'll wrap this up. I'm at 12% battery, so we're gonna wrap this up. I think I got about 2.5 hours of battery time on these things to get this done without battery. Rico Lee said I tried it every other way and it didn't work. I don't know. For some of you, maybe your devices. We don't know. J Rocker says double tap, then alternate thumbs, which actually might be faster than everything. Actually, but Heck said I can use all 5. Okay, so those of you who are very dexterous with your fingers, maybe you use all 5. Andrea said I have an auto that I attach that you bought it on TikTok. Oh, is that a thing? I didn't know that was a thing. Monica said yes, get it going first. Okay, Lee said double tap 4 fingers works. Pepper said you might have to wash your screen. Yeah, those of you who don't clean your phones off, you might have to clean your phone. Y'all should clean your phones. I don't clean my phone as often as I need to. You should clean your phone like at least once a week. Some people clean their phones every day. But think about the things you touch. You touching your steering wheel. You touch door handles. You touch railings. You go in public bathrooms. You shake people's hands. Clean your phones, folks. Your phone's got all kinds of everything on them because every time you touch it, you're taking everything you've been touching. You touch money, your debit card if you hand it to somebody, food when you go to a restaurant. Your phone's got all kinds of stuff on them, so be careful. Wash your phones off. Maybe that's the issue for some of you. So we got the 200,000 likes. Thank you, everybody, for the likes. Getting the likes up. Ashley said, I always alternate. Rika said, they're playing with us. I tapped and tapped, had to come back in. I used both thumbs. We hit 200K, folks. I appreciate everybody. Roseanne, gas pumps. Yeah, that's another one. Gas pumps. Yeah, clean your screens off, folks. J. Rocker said, dried up spit from yelling at the phone screen. Yeah, Rick Thomas said, yeah, see you tomorrow. Shopping carts. That's another one. Yes, grocery store shopping carts. My fingers on my workout today, T. Rose said. All right, shout out everybody got their workout through their hands today. Pause. All right, everybody, I want everybody to have a great Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow. We do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. My battery is about to be dead, so I got to wrap this one up. We'll be back tomorrow. You can text me the word power. You want to get into my power presence protocol. Have me as your direct coach for the Power Presence Mastermind. It's 85% of communication that is nonverbal. Just go to the link in my profile. You can read more about what that is, how it works. For those of you in leadership, those of you in sales, those of you in entrepreneurship, those of you who want to do better in your relationships, be listened to more, follow up more, and leave a stronger imprint on other people who you meet. That's all at the Power Presence Protocol. Thank you, everybody, for staying a little bit late today. We went overtime. I will see you all tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. Everybody have a great Thursday. We are out of here. Work on your game.